What's up, guys? I am live. Let me know if you can hear everything well. I want to make sure we got all the settings correct because you guys know my live streams are doomed normally with technical failures. What's up, everybody? So, okay, that seems to be working. What's up, guys? Today we're going to do a lot of stuff today. We are going to stream and do some reactions. We are going to talk about things going on in sports. This is going to be my opportunity to learn what's happening right now in football and other sort of like just things that are happening. So that's what the first part is going to be. And then the second part will be reactions. Give a few more minutes for folks to get in here. iReady's here. All right, hey guys. So if you're in here and you want to get involved with the reaction requests, there is a link in the description of this video or of the live stream to a public Discord. I just set it up, so you can go join there. It's like brand new, so there's not, it'll grow and get bigger and we'll add features to it, but there is a Discord available. All of the patrons and channel members who are in my members Discord are my mods there in the new Discord. So guys, go ahead and join that to add your questions and stuff like that. What's up? Do I watch MMA? Not really. I did watch you know what? Let's do that. Let's start off with a little this will be a fun reaction. Let me pull it up real quick.
When you think of football,
that's not it. I will show you my favorite. All right. I'm about to show you my favorite MMA fight of all time. All right. Let's get into this. Will I watch Arsenal versus Newcastle? Maybe. Maybe not. All right. We're going to start off with this, and then I will get to my main topics that I want to talk about, but we'll just start off the wall, guys. Oh, no. I knew it would happen. All right, my favorite. This is my favorite MMA fight of all time. This is the best. All right. In one corner, we have Eddie Hall, the world's strongest man, and he's doing a 2-on-1 fight with a couple, I guess they're twins. I don't know. They're brothers, and they were talking all kinds of smack before this fight. So. This is my favorite one. Okay. All right. So it was like that for the whole fight until Eddie decides to chase. Let him run. Oh my gosh. I love this so much. One hit to the face and he's down. And then he takes the last guy out. Oh yeah, because he. He looks like a gorilla. Like, look at this. I love that shot. That is, to me, I don't know why, but this is my favorite MMA fight of all time, and I really wish more of them were like this. All right. So let's start off the stream with that. Okay. That was a joy to watch. That brings me some joy because let's start off with talking about a little bit of my worst week of sports in my life. Where is my tab that I was on? All right. Let's start here. I gotta tell you guys, all right. This week has been the worst week for me as far as being a sports fan that I can ever remember. So, I don't know. I know you guys probably don't really watch NBA very much. To me, I don't remember. I cannot recall something as devastating to me as a fan as what just happened this week. It's been kind of all the talk in American sports right now, and so I'm a Mavs fan. I've been a fan of Dallas sports since I was little, and we just traded away. Okay, let me put this in terms of football because most of my channel is are football fans. This would have been like trading, since it's CR7's birthday. We'll use Ronaldo today. This would have been like trading a prime Ronaldo, like I'm talking young prime Ronaldo, for a current Harry Kane. Oh man, yeah. So that to me is how to describe this trade. I've thought about that a little bit over the week. We traded a young superstar, easily the top 2 or 3 players in the world. Traded him away for a star who is very good but is older. We basically took our championship window and said, "Hey, let's make it 2 to 3 years instead of 10." Yeah, this was to me. Like I said, this has been a very hard week. Let us just talk about this in terms of my football, my season. This has been the worst year of sports in my life. Okay, we can talk about the fact that the Cowboys missed the playoffs after 3 straight years of making the playoffs and losing in the playoffs, but still, completely missed the playoffs, played terrible all year long, fired our coach, hired a new coach who has never coached before. It's a laughingstock. The Cowboys are a laughingstock. And then Spurs weren't making anything better with their run of losing every single Premier League match that they played for like the last month and a half. Having injury upon injury. And then on top of that, the Mavericks they were missing like 6 guys out of their rotation. So injuries were like crazy. And we were all just waiting for Luka to come back from injury. And then the bomb gets dropped that we traded away a 25-year-old superstar for a star, for a very good player in Anthony Davis. But it's been like, I don't know how to describe it other than like somebody at my team stabbed a knife through my heart. And to make things worse, my team has kind of been built on this idea of loyalty. In fact, in front of the Dallas Mavericks stadium is a statue of Dirk Nowitzki, who was our German superstar. And underneath his statue, it says, "Loyalty never fades away." He played 20 years for the Dallas Mavericks. Never left for another team. Never left in free agency. Was loyal to us. Took pay cut after pay cut so we could get some other stars around him. And he was loyal. Luka just bought a house in Dallas, a $15 million house in Dallas. Was prepared to play his entire career for us. They had a passing of the baton. In Dirk's last season, Luka was a rookie, and it kind of was like, it felt like, hey, loyalty, team, like it was such a great environment. And then the club that these two men were loyal to decided to trade him away. Now, here's the part that's so screwed up about it too. Luka was eligible in the next season for a supermax contract, which would have made him the richest. It would have been the richest contract ever signed in NBA history. It would have been $350 million. And he is now, because he was traded to the Lakers are not eligible to pay him that supermax. So he lost $100 million, and he went to a state where they have like a 40% state income tax, something crazy. So he lost a ton of money in this. He got sent away by his team, and the reports are like he was just in tears when he found out he was leaving. He didn't know that he was getting traded. So we just basically ripped the soul out of our team, and you can buy players, but you have to do it. There's like the whole collective bargaining agreement, and you have to do it through certain means. Like, you can't just go out and buy a player if they're under contract. You have to trade some asset for him, and then if he goes to free agency at the end of his contract, if he opts out of his contract to go to free agency, then teams can just buy him. But nobody is just a free agent until their contract expires. So. Do players have to consent for a trade? No, you do not. He is now a LA Laker. He couldn't refuse the trade. Nobody could block the trade. When the GM decided to move him, they moved him. Now, here's the thing that is very, very, like I said, it's been like a gut punch. Yeah, the player has no say. They have no say unless sometimes clubs work with a player. Like, they might come to him and say, hey, we are thinking we may need some other pieces. Where would you, if we decide to trade you, where would you prefer to go? And we can try to work something out with a team where we work it out with you. Sometimes players will come to their club and say, I'm requesting a trade, and here are some teams I'd like to go to. Here's the kind of things that I want, and they try to work together. In this situation, none of that happened. In this situation, Luka was woken up. He was falling asleep, and they had to wake him up and tell him he had been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. After he bought a home at Anthony Davis on the other side, who gets traded to Dallas, he had just bought a home in LA. And so I guess maybe they could swap homes now, but are rented out to each other. So the player really has no bargaining power. It's crazy. To me, it's one of the most like earth-shattering trades as far as like an American sports things that happen, and my team ends up being the one who makes it'll go down 30 years from now if the NBA still exists, because they're trying to destroy it. 30 years from now, it'll go down as the worst trade in NBA history. Now, but here's the crazy thing. My team, there is a theory, and I'm not a conspiracy guy, but if we want to get tinfoil hats out right now, there is a little bit of a conspiracy here, okay? So let's think about this. The new ownership, the team was just sold to new owners like 5 years ago, or maybe a year ago actually. Mark Cuban, they had a new GM, and then Mark Cuban sold the team. So the new owner that comes in, they are casino, hotel, resort moguls. Like they have been talking for a long time about bringing an NBA franchise to Las Vegas. But they also were trying really hard to turn the Dallas Mavericks into a casino and resort destination. They wanted to build this like resort that would also be a part of like the NBA, like the Dallas, because they're trying to get gambling legalized in Texas, because it's not in Texas. And so they're trying to get a casino and resort built around it, and they've been running into roadblocks with getting that thing to happen. So there's been rumors for a long time that they want to move the Dallas Mavericks from Dallas to Las Vegas. Well, one possibility would be to just trade away your star players, trade away picks for the future. Like, we have no, like, I don't know how to describe it because you guys really aren't NBA fans, but it was the dumbest trade we ever made. We got an aging player and we gave away draft picks. So now our future is screwed. If we win a title in the next 2 years, we'll be terrible for the next 10. Like, we sold our future. Okay, well, here's what else happened. The fans are protesting like you would never believe. People have brought coffins to the stadium. They've laid all of their Mavericks gear and jerseys, saying we'll never support this team again, which is crazy. And they lost millions of followers like that. They lost millions in ticket sales immediately. Like, season ticket holders asked for refunds. So one way to think about it, they might be destroying my team so they can just move the franchise to Vegas and start over. And if that happens, I don't even know. It's so devastating. Like, this has been my club since I was little. And it's been hard to even put the games on anymore to watch. Anyway, yeah, plastic fans. Yeah, I would normally agree with that. But having gone through the betrayal that this was, like, I don't know how to describe. It's like somebody changed the identity of my team. My team was surrounded. It's not because of just Luka. My team was surrounded by this idea of loyalty, of trust, of this community. Like that was our thing. We were loyal to our superstar. He was loyal to us, and like we did everything above board. And this was such an underhanded trade and such a dirty trade that it's more than just it was a bad trade. It's like the way it happened makes me feel like this isn't the same team. Like, it's a different club now. Well, now I still support them, but it's really hard to support them right now, and I want the GM to be fired. Yeah, good thing Germany has the 50+1 rule. Such things could never happen here. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, as a Madrid fan, I will never want Vinny for Kane. Yeah, exactly. It was like trading a prime, and I'm understating his value. Luka Doncic is like a prime Ronaldo, he's not quite like Messi was, like, he's the GOAT, but I'm not trying to say that Luka is like the Messi equivalent, but he's got that kind of status around him. To trade him for, like, say, Harry Kane or someone who is a star but is kind of aged, like who's or Lewandowski or something like that. So you guys tell me a player currently right now who's older but still really good. Like, you could win trophies with him for a couple more years. Yeah, so just to me it was the Harry Kane was the best comparison. Anyway, De Bruyne, yeah, something like that. Yeah, KDB, Modric, maybe. Yeah, maybe Salah, but Salah's still he's still elite. He's really still elite. But yeah, you still probably you wouldn't trade or swap Cristiano Ronaldo in his prime for Mo Salah, probably not. But yeah, De Bruyne's probably a good pick. Because AD Anthony Davis is injury prone as well, so it's crazy. All right, let's move on from this depressing subject. Like I said, been the worst year of sports in my life. The Spurs have sucked and been really. It's just been abysmal. What a year! What a year! All right, I do want to check out though. There's been some new things happening with Spurs. That I want to check out. So Tottenham sign a wonder kid. Okay, so we got how do you say his name? Mathis Tell? I've heard a little bit about him. Bayern Munich forward is on the way here. We signed him, and then so here's the thing. I know nothing about this signing, so we're going to learn a little bit about this. Exciting player.
Man City spent almost as much, by the way, as the other 19 top-flight teams combined. Amongst City's signings, the Porto midfielder Nico Gonzalez, £50 million. Villa, of course, they brought in Marcus Rashford, Marco Asensio, Axel Disasi as well. Tottenham signed the highly rated Bayern Munich forward Matthias Tell, also on a loan deal, option, I think, to buy at the end. Joining us now to give us more on...
I thought that there was like a little bit of a back and forth between them on the option to buy. And I was just like, hey, we just need a player in here. Just get the player in here. But I guess they got that option, so. But I don't know anything about this guy.
These European incomings to the Premier League. Our European football expert, Kevin Hatchard. Morning, Kev.
Morning, Kev. How you doing?
Morning, guys. Very well, thank you. Very well.
Now, look, tell us first of all about Matthias Tell, because I suggested a little while ago that...
When you say... Sorry, I'm reading the chat here. When you say Tell was forced, what do you mean by that? You think Tell was forced? He turned them down first, had been quoted saying his conversation with Ange changed his mind. I did read something about that where Ange convinced him to come to Tottenham after he had turned them down. He went to Spurs because he thinks it's the only option. Yeah, and they also signed a new center back, Kevin Danzo. Yes. And from what I hear, they're both available to play against Liverpool tomorrow. They both have trained and all of that. But so you think Ange threatened him? I guess I don't know how that would work. But see, here's the thing that's so like, just not to get hung up on the rant that I just had earlier, but I wish that Luka could have turned down his trade. Like, I just can't fathom the fact that he just got traded against his will. He did not want to leave. He was very happy in Dallas, and they just stabbed him in the back. But, so, Matthias Tell, he rejected the trade at first, and then Ange convinced him to come.
A couple of weeks ago, unless you were an aficionado of the Bundesliga, you probably didn't know anything about him. So what sort of player are Tottenham getting, and will he fit in there?
So the first thing to say is that Matthias Tell is an exciting player. There's no doubt about that. I mean, this is Bayern's youngest ever scorer. And when he came to the club, he made an impact straight away. He is somebody that is quite versatile. He can play as an inside forward off the left, or he can play as a centre forward. He's quick, he's tricky, he is a decent finisher, he's good in the air. The thing about him is that there are a lot of rough edges to his game that need smoothing off, but you can only do that with game time. Now, he's actually had decent game time in the two previous seasons.
So you said it's insane that players can't refuse to go to another team. I never knew that players had that power until I started watching football. And someone says, it hurts when you always doing your best for your club, then you hear that you might be going to Tottenham. Di Maria. What a quote. What a flipping quote, bro. It hurts when you're doing your best for your club, and then you hear that you might be going to Tottenham. Hey, we have the manager, a great manager. We have always had great managers. We have so many great managers.
But since Vincent Kompany went to Bayern, he just hasn't really had much of a look in. And I think part of that is because he's not a winger that likes to hug the touchline necessarily in the way that a Kingsley Coman would or Leroy Sané can do on that right-hand side. And he likes his fullbacks to kind of underlap. So Tell isn't necessarily the greatest fit. It's quite interesting, though, because Bayern at the start of the window were quite relaxed about this. They were quite happy for him to stay and fight for his place, and the feeling was that he wanted to do that too. But since the turn of the year, he just hasn't had that game time, and I think that's convinced him to try his hand elsewhere.
Kev, what about a team that certainly look as though they need freshening up and a bit of life about them, Manchester City? They've had quite a busy window. Tell us a little bit.
Not gonna lie. That accent is tough for me. Okay, let me back up and hear what he said just there.
See, they've had quite a busy window. Tell us a little bit.
He just was talking about Manchester City, and he said they have a busy window, I think.
Out of Manchester City, they've had quite a busy window. Tell us a little bit.
They have quite a busy window. Wow. I'm not gonna lie, I was struggling with that one.
About Nico Gonzalez.
Yeah, I think he makes a lot of sense because this is a guy that came through the Barcelona academy, played a fair bit for Barcelona, but of course they're well stocked in midfield with Gavi, Pedri, Frenkie de Jong. So then he got loaned out to Valencia, moved to Porto, and he's done really well for Porto. He's a guy that will bring quality and energy to that midfield, and that's what they're desperate for. I mean, you look at how vulnerable they are in transition. You look at how many goals they're giving up. You look.
Said apparently Kane helped him as well. That's interesting. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to find real quick to see if I can find some footage of him playing that won't get me copyright trouble. So let me get some videos here. Well,
Football is on the.
my bad, guys. Nice tell highlights. The Bundesliga is the worst about about copyrights too. Here we go. I just want to get one quick look at this, and then we'll move on.
An electrifying hybrid of Louis Saha and Mane, or a roided Gervinho. Just how good is Matisse? Tell.
Is it Matisse? Or Matthias? Or Mathis? Matisse.
Die Bayern machen es halblang. 5 Minuten noch, Tell.
From a statistical perspective, Tell's numbers indicate he's a credible
Okay.
goal threat, albeit not at the level of a consistently prolific number 9. His XG reflects someone who does find himself in promising positions, but the conversion rate isn't elite yet. I think from the eye test, what we can see is that he's a player who blends raw athleticism as well as technical explosiveness. His right foot, his primary weapon, is capable of producing thunderous strikes with minimal backlift. He generates power.
Just by the look of it, he kind of looks like the player Ange would want in his system. Someone said this is a good channel for player analysis. Sweet. I'm not actually sure I'm going to react to this entire video. I'll probably watch this on my own, but because I have other videos that I want to get to. But let's look at the creativity. I really care about creativity.
And Müller leading it, and how about that for a finish, Leon Goretzka?
Statistically, in terms of creativity, Tell's assist numbers are strong, but I think this is inflated due to his crossing ability. If you look at his actual through balls, they're sparse, so he doesn't really have a central playmaking focus to his creative arsenal. What I would say is that in terms of his deceptive passing ability, this is fueled by his ambidexterity. He's a bit like a Louis Saha, someone who during the 06-07 season was very hard to read for Manchester United because opponents didn't know whether he's right-footed or left-footed. So when he ran with the ball, teams couldn't read when he's going to release the ball with which foot, and this opens up angles for passing. He's also quite a flary player at times, so he's unorthodox. And this can also lead to passes you never really saw coming, but these moments are sporadic.
Man, I do love the idea of an unorthodox player. I love creativity in football, man. So kind of excited about that, if that's the case. What are we going to see going on there? But all right, let's go ahead and say that's a good player analysis. I'll stop the recording on that. If you guys enjoyed this breakdown of Spurs new signing. Go ahead and smash like on the video. All right. So, got that one filmed real quick. We're going to do some reactions. Guys, let me know. What other things have been happening in the football right now that you guys think are worth me covering on the channel? Y'all let me know that down below, and we'll get that figured out. So, by the way, guys, I did open up a public Discord, public server. This is open for all of you guys. The link is in the description of this live stream. So if you want to jump in here and make YouTube suggestions, there's the opportunity to do that here. And I will probably, most of the time, I'll get to all of the ones that get put in here, but there might be an occasion where, like, something like this, JoJo, let me see. If it's actually Premier League footage, it probably will get blocked on YouTube, so I might not do these during a live stream. I might try to do these, record these separately, and then upload it and see if it see if I have to do something with copyright. But I don't want to put myself in jeopardy during a live stream, because you guys remember the last time I got a strike, it was during a live stream. So things like, so I'll just kind of make the decision going through here,
The Bundesliga
which ones we might do. But first, there was one that channel members suggested, and this is what we're going to do first. All right. So apparently, it really deserves a watch. If this goes through and the MLS doesn't ruin it, it will be great for football in America. And JoJo agrees that it's worth watching. So
big developments in the land of real bacon and freedom going on right now. And I think, even though you might not care about it, and even though you have no idea what I'm going to be talking about most of the time, and that's allegedly, I think this is potentially the biggest change that's happened to U.S. soccer in the last 20 years. I really mean that.
I don't even know if I've heard about what this is.
I think is the biggest step that the United States could take into developing a wider network of domestic talent, right? And being able to, in some way, fill in the gaps that always exist in the United States. Because if you don't know how this sort of stuff works in the U.S., it's kind of insane when you know how it works in every other part of the world, right? The United States just does not have a local club system anywhere. In what country you are from, it is very...
In any sport, there is no local club system. We have a very, very different relationship with sports.
Likely that you live in a country where within 20 to 30 minutes of your house, there is going to be a youth team that you could join that has a senior team above it, and you have that opportunity given to you. If you're from England, you have no idea how fortunate you even are to have. I mean, you go all the way down to, maybe it's a 10th tier team, but there is a senior team attached to those youth teams that you could join and play in these local leagues, right? And in France and in Germany and Portugal and Spain and Italy, in freaking Greece, right? Like these exist all over. In the United States, that's just not really how it works. The United States is built, just socially built in a different way. There is a certain trajectory that you follow. Right, and there are changes that are happening to this, which is why we're talking about it. I'm just filling in the background for you. But a lot of the clubs that you play at, if you are a kid, right, into U18, a lot of things into U18 in the United States. The age of 18 is a very sharp cutoff in the United States. Not only are you eligible to be drafted and those sorts of things, that is when you finish high school. You either go to work or you go to college.
But you can't drink. Got to wait 3 more years for that. But you can drive. You can do other things too.
And there is a new era. You move on, right? And there is not a large network of lower league senior men's teams that exists in the United States. There just aren't. There are men's leagues, right? But they're, you pay $150 a person and you join a league with all your friends, and then a ref shows up who's just some dude that works for, this organization, and they rent out fields and you play on those fields. There's no pyramid. There's no,
right.
Those men's league teams, you play like a 10-match season and then you have a playoff and then you go on to the next season, right? There's no youth teams associated with it. It's not an actual club. It doesn't represent.
Zealand, I love you so much, but your rant videos are ranty. So what we're going to do here, we're just going to give him a little boost just to get to the point. His content's great. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. Oh, I did the worst. I did the worst one. We want 125. My bad.
An area or a neighborhood or a city block or anything. It's just a couple of friends that get together and do it that way. I play in some of those men's leagues. So there are people, grown-up people that are playing or whatever, but there aren't clubs, right? And when you're a kid, even in the United States, you have to pay, right, a certain amount of money, a couple $100 or whatever, to join these clubs because there's no senior team.
Pay to play. Don't we all love it? You have to pay to be on the team. Yeah, I love it.
That provides any money at all for this. It's not free. It's not discounted, right? If you don't happen to live near an MLS team, which, the United States is huge, then you really don't have an opportunity like that. There are, USL and NPSL teams, and those are proliferating.
The sound of the video a little bit better now? Yes, let me know.
Right? There's more and more of them, and they're actually, in my opinion, doing a better job than MLS in trying to create that kind of network. And the way I look at it is like a net that is able to catch talent around the country that is, maybe has a chance to develop. Because you never know, there might be a 13, 14-year-old out there that if they were given the appropriate coaching could become a high-level international player. But if they're playing in Montana, you're never going to know.
Right.
They're going to, right? And that sort of thing doesn't happen in countries that are very successful. Right, in Brazil, that sort of thing does not happen because there are so many clubs and so many opportunities to play. And in England, that sort of thing does not happen. There isn't the legend.
I appreciate you guys. A lot of times I can't tell what the sound is like for you guys because the mixer for the output is different from what's in my ears. So thank you guys for the assist there. Hope it's better now.
Understanding that there was this kid that lived in South Dakota and he could have been great, but he wasn't. Just because he didn't have an opportunity to play. There was no place for him to play. I grew up in Tampa, Florida. There was not a major there wasn't a senior semi-pro or professional team within an hour and a half of my front door. There's one that played in St. Petersburg, Florida, and there's one that played in Orlando. The St. Pete team was one of it was like USL, right? And then obviously Orlando City was created, but that was in like 2015. I was already in college by the time Orlando City was created. It was not something that existed before I was in college. Just gives you an idea. Tampa being like a top 15 size media market in the entire United States. And you can grow up in a city like that has millions of people in it and not have one professional or semi-professional team within an hour and a half of your front door. Okay, now granted, if you lived in certain parts of Tampa, maybe you're closer to St. Pete, maybe you're making that 30, 45-minute drive to be able to be in the, Tampa Bay Rowdies Youth Academy or something, but that's a one-off. Then you go to London.
Tampa Bay Rowdies? That's interesting. So is there something that's happening, like this new soccer news? Here we go. He's almost there. He's almost there, ladies and gentlemen.
There's like 47 million different clubs that you can wander into. So the United States has this big problem. And one of the biggest contributing factors to that is that those clubs never developed because college was like the original thing that society was organized around in the United States over the last 100, 150 years. Sports originated.
Sports just run through our for some reason they run through our education system, and that's just true. Like most people, their sports experience in the United States coincides with their high school or their college. And if you're good in your high school, then you get the opportunity to play in college and have your university tuition paid for with scholarships to play sports. So our entire system is built around being good enough in high school at your school to be seen by scouts at colleges to get scholarships. That seems to be the case with most of it. I mean, there are some like you can play AAU basketball, club basketball, and stuff like that to get maybe potentially to get around that system. But for the most part, everything runs through our schools.
In the United States through college. It didn't originate through factories or whatever. It came up through college and then eventually became a professional sport, and soccer went the same way. Soccer is played at the collegiate level. And the change I'm talking about today happens in college itself, right? There are rumblings. There are sources that are discussing something that would be very, very useful. And I'm just going to read this. This is a tweet from U.S. men's national team prospects. College soccer is on the verge of a monumental shift in the landscape, per numerous sources I've talked to in the past 24 hours. Here's what I know. There's a plan that most basic level will make the college soccer season a full-time season. Now, I used to broadcast college soccer when I was at Virginia, which is one of the best college soccer teams. And the way it works right now in the United States is they play like a 20-25 match season, and it is one of the 4 seasons. So you have your summer seasons, your fall, your winter, your spring. Right. Soccer happens in the fall. So they play a fall season. You play about 20 games over the course of the fall, and then you go into conference tournament and national tournament, and it's over by the end of the fall. Mm-hmm. What they're discussing now is transitioning to a more full-time professional type of calendar, but that is far from the only change that is being discussed here. And I'd heard rumblings about this when I was announcing college soccer. And this would be huge because it's going to align college soccer with the professional ranks and allow them to essentially serve as a greater development tool. Because right now, the best thing college soccer is there for is to provide opportunities to American players that don't want to give up on the dream. And honestly, the number one thing college soccer seems to be used for is to provide different players that couldn't quite make it in the professional ranks from around the world the opportunity to come and study and play in the United States.
Just get your college paid for, basically.
Ton of college soccer players in the United States are random dudes from Norway, from Germany, from France that just wanted to come over to the United States. And coaches in college soccer in the United States love recruiting foreign players because it looks better, quite honestly.
Whoa, Keeves in the comment or in the chat says if you play pro youth for a professional team here, a lot of the time you can't play for your high school as well. So there's like a conflict of playing for your high school and also playing professionally. That's interesting.
Because the people that assume that foreign players are better than American players are not just people outside of America. That is a stereotype that permeates even with inside the United States. If you can sign a guy from the Norwegian, from a reserve team of a Norwegian professional league, that's better than signing some kid who just played for his local high school in Virginia. Even if the kid that played for his local high school in Virginia is actually super freaking good. Right? It just doesn't look nearly as good as going and signing that guy. And that's not a diss on the other guy that's coming from the Norwegian league because he's got, much more academy and technical experience than somebody who's playing at their local high school because the coach of the local high school is the geometry teacher.
That's an interesting point. Like the fact that I never even thought about how the bias towards European or South American players actually hinders us from developing our own players. That's actually a problem because it's it's stunting our ability to have development of our own players because we view other players as just inherently better because they have more experience, they have more the culture of football. So I get that. That's actually an impediment that I didn't think was there.
And so it one hand feeds the other, right? It's just kind of this self-perpetuating. It's true some of the time, and then it's reinforced even the times that it's not true that player over in Norway is better. But shifting into a full-time season would create overnight hundreds of teams that would be able to serve as a reserve league, as a ramp into being a professional footballer in the United States, not just coming over in a collegiate experience, not just not playing soccer for 7 of the 12 months out of the year, right? But something that it would be legit. But there's a lot of changes that have to go with.
Oh, I see, Philippe. So, okay. Sorry, if you're watching this on YouTube and I'm interacting with chat as well. So we were having that conversation about not being able to play in high school if you're also playing professionally. That makes sense. If you have a professional contract, the pro club doesn't want you to get injured in pointless games unless you work it out with your club as like a kind of a way for you to get experience. I don't know. That's interesting.
With this is where things get interesting. The shift will likely happen when MLS shifts. So a lot of talk about MLS shifting to a winter calendar, which is going to be tough for teams in like Colorado, but it is what it is. But here's the big part. How would it work? From those I've spoken to, there's high likelihood the U.S. Soccer Federation will be involved as a governing body and a power broker, which is good because right now college soccer is under something called the NCAA. The NCAA, it administers college athletics. It's a complete mess and a disaster, and it is pretty obsolete at this point. Currently, I believe there are two major conferences that have signaled to be on board, ACC and Big Ten, two of the biggest conferences in the country for sporting prowess.
Got to get the SEC in there.
I've heard mixed things on whether every single program in those conferences is on board. Yet the premise of how this is going to work is simple. The top 40 to 50 programs in college soccer are lining up their ducks in a row to go to the NCAA, which I was just telling you about earlier, and ask them to cooperate in this new venture. NCAA is losing the amateurism battle right now in so many sports. They don't have much leverage. I believe the pitch is work in cooperation with U.S. Soccer in this venture, or we will completely break away from the NCAA and join the U.S. Soccer umbrella, which would not be a bad thing. All of a sudden, the soccer teams associated with various university and colleges around the country would go under the U.S. Soccer umbrella and perhaps allow them to create affiliate relationships with various clubs. All of a sudden, the University of Virginia would be one of 5 or 6 colleges that has an affiliate relationship with, let's say, D.C. United. That would be a huge transformation in the number of feeder clubs, and it would also...
Yeah, I do think it would be good to break away from the NCAA. The NCAA is historically a bad... It's such a mess the way they try to regulate the college sports. So yeah, to break away from the NCAA would be huge. And then it makes it much easier, yeah, like he's saying, to integrate and affiliate with professional clubs.
So tie together the social and cultural prerogative, like the monumental social and cultural impact that college has in the United States in particular. There's somebody that is fortunate enough to have the opportunity to have friends all over the world in the U.S. going to college. And the experience and the expectation of going to college is on a completely different level for some reason in the United States. It's just like a part of life. And if you don't do it, it is a very conscious decision and you have something in life that you are already pursuing and want to do. But even later, you find a lot of people try to kind of go back and get a degree in something, right? To be able to tie that in so that you don't have to fundamentally shift U.S. society to create academies and reserve teams, but allow kids to go to college. But then if they have a professional, avenue to allow them to continue to pursue that, but through college. That would solve so many problems for the United States here. They said it sounds like the new landscapes would be classified as semi-professional in how it would work. There's possibility the players might have some role in the professional club landscape. Most likely that happened in the form of participating during the college offseason. That's still to be worked out, and any compensation during the season is another topic that I believe is in play. They actually were able to come in and add more to this because it definitely seems like it's gaining steam. The later reports said that all the coaches in one of the conferences
don't understand American sports structure. Yeah, it's different, and so. Yeah, I do think this idea seems legit to me because, so far the way that it's worked is you basically go through college to get into the draft of a pro league. But if these teams are able to break away and kind of be like a mid-tier, like semi-pro developmental league kind of situation, then we can actually develop talent here as opposed to just trying to bring talent from Europe or South America or from other countries. It tends to be the way that we are able to make our teams better is you just got to bring players from outside of the U.S. to come play here. So this would be huge for the development of the game, I think.
Conferences got together in a conference call and voted and had a discussion and kind of voted in favor of this. But of course, it's not all gravy. Apparently, and I love this because this is just classic MLS.
Oh my God.
MLS has been pushing back on this idea to the USSF because they believe it could hurt their place in the development league. Fuck your development league. Your development league doesn't do shit. The United States is a country of 350 million.
Rudy, thanks for the super chat. And it's the history of the Mavericks. Yeah. I know Rudy's a Spurs fan, so you're so happy about this right now, aren't you? This is the worst pain I've ever experienced in my life. Golly, and you guys have your... Hey, Rudy, why don't you guys trade Victor Wembanyama? Why don't y'all trade Wemby for Kevin Durant?
And people, that's an entire continent wide. Your singular development league is not going to catch all of the good players. All right, fucking put your development league above. Get the USSF to put your development league above where college soccer is.
All right, let me back up and catch that last bit again. Sorry, I was distracted by my Mavericks pain.
All of the good players. All right, fucking put your development league above. Get the USSF to put your development league above where college soccer is. I don't give a shit, but fuck your development league.
Yeah.
Let this good thing happen. Let 40, 50, 100, 200 colleges become part of this system that allows us to give talented individuals, no matter where they are in the United States, the opportunity to play and showcase themselves for professional teams. There's a siren. MLS is already after me right now, dude. On the flip side, as I said, USL seems to understand the assignment more in trying to grow the game everywhere. They apparently have offered these programs the chance to join their league structure. So the USL League One would be the second highest level in USL, and they're basically saying, hey, if college teams want to join that, they totally can. There's a lot to figure out about where they fit in. Are they going to actually go into the USL pyramid? Are they going to tie themselves to MLS clubs or whatever? But this needs to happen. This happening would be great, because while you're never going to have an MLS development team in South Dakota, in Montana, in Nebraska, you are going to have a college. You're going to have multiple colleges. And if those colleges can find that kid that's really good in high school around there and give them the opportunity to receive good coach.
Yes, it is. Sorry to answer the chat. It is really hard to become pro in the United States because, like I said, we don't have a good system of development. So you can, I mean, we have some of the MLS clubs have youth academies, but if they're going to really, really compete, they just go and they sign European legends, or they sign, aging stars from other countries, and that's what they do. So I think this would be great to have a bunch of college teams become kind of the developmental league. Yeah, I like it.
Coaching at least a semi-professional level, and get some professional eyeballs on that player. And because they're also able to go to college, allow them to follow the trajectory they expected and are expected to carry out in their life, while also saying, hey, look, if you're really good, you could just be a professional football player. You could be a professional soccer player, because that avenue is not open.
Right.
That avenue is not pursued in the United States. And what always drives me crazy, and this will be my crusade every single opportunity I get, is I played for the 6th best high school team in the country in the United States. I was the backup goalkeeper. I was a vibes hire. I was a locker room guy. Okay, so I'm not over here tooting my own horn. One of those players went on to play professionally at all. And the vast majority of those players just went to college after high school and never played again. If the United States ever wants to be what it can be in football and soccer, a lot more of those kids from a team like that need to be given an opportunity to play somewhere, and need to at least understand that that opportunity is there, because a great number of those kids never even considered, never even thought about maybe going to a different country to play, maybe playing in the MLS Development League. Like, you need to create a world that melds U.S. culture and society with providing opportunities and showing people that it is possible to be a professional footballer. Because that doesn't exist right now here. And this could be huge to change that.
All right. I think that's a good, really good synopsis of that plan. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Smash like on this video, and I'll see you in another video. Okay. Recorded that reaction there. Yeah, so the U.S. system is it's super weird, guys. It really is super weird. Crazy. I'm not going to lie. I am having trouble locking in today because I am so upset about this Luka Doncic trade, man. It has been, I was really depressed. I'm not going to lie. It hurt. It hurt bad. All right. I already has shared a DeBronco reaction for me to react to. You want me to react to DeBronco reacting to another video? I have heard that this video requested, so we'll probably do that as well. Feel for you, man. This Doncic stuff is crazy. It's really crazy, man. It was the weirdest thing. All right, this one's been requested for the last few videos, so I'm going to go ahead and look it up real quick. Okay. Got us a long one. Football Made Simple. Great creator here. All right, lock in, guys. Here we go. Oh, you meant to put the original video already? Yeah, that one, we're going to definitely do that video. I've had that requested, so. All right, here we go. Let me click the recorder on, lock in. This is a little bit of a longer video, but I think it's going to be good. I've had it requested from several people. All right, in today's video, we are going to be reacting to how Mourinho conquered Guardiola and Spain. I am live on YouTube right now. We've been trying to do this once a week now. I think we're going to be doing it either on Tuesdays or Wednesdays. These are the days that we're going to be doing reactions over here during the live stream. So if you can catch it live, go ahead and do that. But here we go. How Mourinho conquered Guardiola and Spain.
When Guardiola took over Barcelona, the Blaugrana looked unbeatable. A young Pep had led an even younger Barcelona side, studded with stars from La Masia to incredible heights never seen before. Their very first season together ended in a historic treble, with the 2009 calendar year bringing the famous sextuple, where the side won 6 trophies. Many pundits already had this side down as the greatest team in club football history, a side that was virtually impossible to beat. But Barcelona's most hated rivals, Real Madrid, would not take this line down and would do everything in their power to win back the title of being Spain's finest side. But here's the thing, Real Madrid had already been going.
Hey guys, answer me this. Sorry, this is a little bit related, but not also not related. How do you guys handle differing sports as a fan of a club? For instance, I think when it comes to football, I really like Barcelona in Spain. So if I was going to pick a Spanish team to be like my favorite team, I think I would be a Barca fan. I just really like watching their young talent that they've got right now. They play a brand that I like to watch. So that would be who I would probably choose. However, if I was choosing a basketball team from Europe, like if I was going to have a Euro League team that I become a fan of, it has to be Real Madrid, because Luka Doncic played for Real Madrid. It has to be. Like, it's just so natural. I don't even have a second thought about it. But how does that work? I'm assuming that's unheard of, to be a fan of one club in football and their arch rival in a different sport. It's interesting. So you have your main club and then a favorite in most major leagues. Yeah, no, you can't do that. I know. I probably can't do that. But when it comes to basketball, I feel like I have to be a Madrid fan. That's illegal. All right, well, I'll just back out. I'll just back off. I don't know that I will be a fan of either. If I'm watching football and Spanish football, I'm going to enjoy Barca the most. If I'm watching basketball, I will probably enjoy watching Real Madrid. There we go. I've made the chat upset. I feel like that would be almost impossible to do. Yeah, it's funny. Okay.
Above and beyond to keep up with Barcelona. Following Barcelona's incredible debut season with Pep, change was needed, and Perez was voted back into power by Los Blancos. He wasted little time and installed Manuel Pellegrini as his manager, and went huge in the transfer market, ushering the reign of the Galacticos Mark II. This ranged from depth signings like Arbeloa, Granero, Raul Albiol and Alvaro Negredo to superstars. Alonso came in for over 30 million euros, as did Karim Benzema, and that was just the start, as 2 men with Ballon d'Ors in their trophy cabinets joined in Kaká and Cristiano Ronaldo.
I didn't really realize that Benzema was that old. How did I not realize that? I thought he was like a newer star. Tells you how much I'm learning about football. 37. Jeez. Okay. Yeah, I thought he was like maybe 31. Like, I thought he was younger than that.
But even all of this was barely a bump in the Barcelona parade, as Real still crashed off the Copa del Rey in the round of 32 against Segunda Division side Alcorcón, and the round of 16 in the Champions League against Lyon. And Manuel Pellegrini's Real Madrid side is often forgotten, but this team accrued a ridiculous 96 points in La Liga, a club record at the time. But Barcelona went almost unbeaten, their sole blemish being against Atletico Madrid, and they won the league with 99 points. Perez knew that Galactico players and league records wouldn't be resulted in not only winning the league domestically, but shining in Europe, winning the UEFA Cup in his first season, and taking an unfancied Porto side to the Champions League, amongst other successes. At Chelsea, he had reached superstar level, charming the English press off the pitch and dominating on it. He would become a back-to-back Premier League champion in his first 2 seasons with the Blues, as well as win the League Cup twice and the FA Cup in 2007, before leaving the club later that year. But footballing ability wasn't the only problem, as Pellegrini's 96 points without winning the league attested, and Mourinho had a key ingredient that made Perez identify him as his target.
Hoy, mañana y siempre con el Barça en el corazón.
Mourinho had long held Barcelona in high regard, having worked there early as a translator for Sir Bobby Robson and Louis van Gaal during the same spell that Guardiola was a key player for the side. And here is where the problems began. With essentially no playing career at a time where prior professional experience was valued more than ever as a manager, Mourinho had taken the difficult path to becoming an elite manager, starting as a youth team coach at Vitória de Setúbal, then assistant manager at
It's hard to believe he had no playing experience. I guess no professional playing experience. He probably played at some level, huh?
Estrella, then a scout at Ovarense, before becoming a translator and assistant coach at Barcelona, then Benfica, and eventually becoming the main man for Benfica. But even when Mourinho became the main man there, he was not fully entrusted by the higher-ups, and took a step down to União de Lira before joining Porto, from where he would begin to build his resume up, trophy by trophy. A difficult path to the top for Mourinho. So in the summer of 2008, when Rijkaard retired, and Mourinho did not have a job, he relished the chance to finally become the head honcho at Barcelona, the club he so adored. But he was snubbed. Instead, the role was granted to Pep Guardiola, the local boy who had been a top...
There's so much tension here. What a story. So he goes on to be the nemesis of Barca. He goes to manage at Real Madrid after he adored Barcelona. Wow. Okay, I see the tension building already between these two.
Top player, but on the coaching front only had 1 year of experience with Barcelona B. Mourinho would not take the snub kindly. The love he had for Barcelona disappeared, and a chip on his shoulder would appear as he waited for the chance for revenge. Part of his revenge took place in the Champions League, as he had joined Inter when Pep was given the Barcelona role. In the 09-10 season, Barcelona were on track to win the Champions League back-to-back, until they met Jose Mourinho's Inter in the semi-final. Barcelona were overwhelming favourites, but Inter produced an incredible first leg display, running out 3-1 winners. In the second leg, Thiago Motta was sent off early, making Barcelona heavy favourites to mount the comeback. But Mourinho rallied his troops, and they sat back, employing Catenaccio tactics to snuff out Barcelona. Inter would go on to lose. It was the most beautiful defeat of my life.
Wait, why is this? I've been struggling with this today. It says that I'm on 1080p. It's just blurry.
Mourinho would go on to say, as a 1-0 defeat meant that Inter had progressed on aggregate. It was a style of blood, not skill. We were a team of heroes.
When Thiago Motta saw the red card, Barcelona dugout was celebrating like a goal. I felt in that moment they were feeling the job is done. And I went there while Pepe was speaking with Ibra to say, you think it is over, but it's far from over.
Oh, wow.
Mourinho went mad with his celebrations, unleashing his resentment for Barcelona as he ran across the pitch to...
No, he didn't. Sorry, I gotta go back on this again.
They were feeling the job is done. And I went there while Pepe was speaking with Ibra to say, you think it is over, but it's far from over.
Mourinho went mad with his celebrations, unleashing his resentment for Barcelona as he ran across the pitch to celebrate in front of the Barcelona crowd, sparking a melee. Inter Milan would go on.
There's nothing better than in sports when someone gets the revenge arc. I love... man, that's crazy. So, like, for instance, we just ranted at the beginning of this video about Luka trading to the Lakers. I'm a Mavs fan, and I'm going to stay a Mavs fan. but I will cheer for every bucket that Luka puts up against Dallas. Because I've seen him play. He gets angry. The dude is going to drop 60 points every time he plays against Dallas. And every single time I'm going to cheer for it because that revenge tour is going to be so crazy to watch. I love that in sports. I love when someone gets snubbed by a team and then they're able to go. But wow, this story is crazy already.
On to win the Champions League that year, confirming everything that Perez had needed. Mourinho was a proven elite coach in multiple countries. He had taken on Barcelona fearlessly with Inter. As the club continued to hunt for La Decima, Mourinho showed he could win in Europe. And the Champions League win, by the way, had stopped Barcelona from winning the Champions League in the Santiago Bernabeu. And maybe most importantly, Mourinho had the mentality to take on Barcelona off the pitch as well. The arrival of Mourinho brought a renewed confidence to Real Madrid as he joined at the peak of his powers. So excited were the fans that Mourinho himself was deemed as a Galactico, and he was quick to make his presence known, bringing in transfers that would be key to his reign. Ricardo Carvalho followed from Chelsea. Two German youngsters Mourinho believed in also joined, as Sami Khedira and Mesut Ozil became Madridsters. And all of this was topped off by the electric Angel Di Maria. Mourinho instantly began to put his philosophy in place, as he set his team up in a 4-2-3-1 that most often looked like this, with his key signings in Ozil, Angel Di Maria, Khedira and Carvalho immediately slotting into the side. Mourinho's Real Madrid immediately began to show they were special, winning 10 of their first 12 league encounters and outscoring everyone in Spain and conceding less than anyone else in La Liga.
By the way, guys, sorry, I keep getting things that are off topic a little bit. I was looking at the Premier League table just the other day and looking at goal differential, and under the 10th spot, everyone has a negative goal differential except for one team, just Tottenham, who has a plus 14 or something like that goal differential, and they were down at like 17th at the time I was looking at the table. And it just made me laugh. It's like, that's a total encapsulation of my team this year, is that they have a positive goal differential and they are at the, like, almost at the bottom of the table. But like everyone 10 and under goal differential is negative, like -3, -30. Crazy.
Cristiano Ronaldo was in phenomenal form, scoring 14 goals in those first 12 matches, as his rivalry with Messi began to escalate.
Yeah,
but Gonzalo
this is the era.
Higuain was also supplementing the attack nicely, as Mourinho's machine continued to purr. Real Madrid were top of the table. But matchday 13 brought the first El Clasico, a chance for Madrid to put some daylight between them and Barcelona, a chance to show that the early season form was the new norm, and that they were the new superpower, and a chance for Mourinho to get yet another bit of revenge. He lined up his side in the usual 4-2-3-1, with a double pivot of Khedira and Alonso, and Pepe and Carvalho as centre-backs, whilst Ramos was at right-back.
I heard Pepe is like a guaranteed red card most of the time. I only got to see him play at like, was he like 41? Or he's old now. I've only got to see, he's still good, but I never got to see him get a red card. I guess I saw him at the Euros. Am I correct on that? Am I thinking of a different player?
Ozil orchestrated behind Benzema, with Ronaldo off the left. But as early as the 9th minute, it all began to go sideways for Mourinho. He had opted for a midfield 3 with a dedicated 10, and 2 deep-lying midfielders, but none were dedicated defensive midfielders. He had tried to account for this central weakness by defending extremely narrow, with Ozil on Busquets and Ronaldo central and high with Benzema. And Real actually held a fairly high line, as they looked to implement a compact mid-block. However, Barcelona decided to exploit the wide regions left open by Real, particularly on the right, where Ronaldo was high and had less defensive work rate than Di Maria. Barcelona switched to a back 3, either with Busquets dropping in to split Piqué and Puyol, or more often Abidal tucking in. The goal was then to have 3 men outside of this narrow block, and with Alves being effectively unchallenged, he moved high, allowing Pedro to tuck in and Messi to drop into the midfield to cause an overload and help keep possession and still dominate the centre, or drag the centre-backs out of position to free up space for the runner. This right-hand side overwhelm often dragged Real Madrid across the pitch, and because Abidal was deep, Villa was free to hold the width and receive switches or make aggressive out-to-in runs. Mourinho later looked to adapt to this by switching Ronaldo and Di Maria's flanks, as the Argentine could provide more cover versus Alves and Messi, but the damage was done. The game would go on to be a complete humiliation for Mourinho and Real Madrid, as Pep's men put 5 past them. It would also set the tone for all following Clásicos between Mourinho and Guardiola, as it was a game that was football, but also bordered on a tribal war, with every foul being contested, and malaise breaking out at every chance.
Like, I know El Clasico is already just one of the top rivalries in sports. Is it? I mean, I don't know the history. I need to actually react to the history of El Clasico. Was there a time when El Clasico, has it always been like this, or was this era what really brought it to the forefront as like the greatest rivalry in sports? I feel like this era is what everyone thinks about when they think of El Clasico. So you guys let me know how that rivalry, the history of that rivalry, or if there's good videos that I can react to about El Clasico. You guys can load those up in the Discord. But by the way, if any of you are new on the live stream right now and just joined us, I do have a public Discord in the description of this live stream where you guys can post in there, and I have mods from my members only Discord in there, so check it out.
In total, 13 yellow cards were handed out, with 2 being given to Sergio Ramos, another sign for future Clásicos. Whilst the media and Real Madrid fans began to panic as the spectre of Barcelona dominating once more loomed, Mourinho remained calm in the chaos. In the aftermath of the humiliation, Mourinho walked into
I remember you guys saying Clasico goes way back. I do remember a video that I checked out about like the regime of Spain had their team when I think it was Real Madrid. So like there always was some history between Real Madrid and Barca, but I think like when everyone thinks of this rivalry, they think of this era. So
Bonded locker room. I know this hurts you. Perhaps for most of you it's the worst loss of your entire career. They're happy now and they seem to have won the championship, but they've only won 1 game. This is just the beginning. Perhaps people will talk about the significance of this defeat, but don't hide behind it. You must show your balls. After this defeat, we must fight for the title.
Alright.
Real Madrid responded instantly, winning 5 in a row, and winning 42 of the next 54 available points. Barcelona was still purring along, however, but Real's form meant that on the 15th of April, Los Blancos still had title hopes, and fate had thrown together an interesting concoction. On the 16th of April, the 2 rivals had always been slated to face off for the 2nd time in La Liga, but both sides had also made deep runs in the Copa del Rey, all the way to the final in fact, and this happened to be slated 4 days after the initial league meeting. Incredibly, the Champions League draw had brought them together for a 2-legged semi-final, meaning there would be a total of 4 El Clásicos in 17 days, a phase that would change the course of football history, as this 4-part series would become the world's focus. When speaking of Mourinho versus Pep, the Inter and Barcelona ties are often remembered just for the semi-final stage, where Mourinho reigned supreme. But before that, Barcelona and Inter were in the same group, but it was Guardiola who had won that head-to-head, with a draw away at the San Siro before a comfortable 2-0 win at the Nou Camp. But following his unsuccessful first attempts at Barcelona, Mourinho had gone back to the drawing board to plot a memorable night at the Nou Camp. After being hammered 5-0 at the Nou Camp with Real Madrid, the question was if Mourinho could pull off such an immediate adaptation once again. Despite Real having been otherwise a free-scoring machine, Jose decided to change tact after the first leg humiliation. Where before he had gone with a 4-2-3-1 without a dedicated defensive midfielder, now it was almost the opposite.
Is this when he brings up
foreshadowing frequent occurrences in the latter half of his career, it was Ozil to be
Is this when he brings back to a back five? I might be mistaken here.
sacrificed. And it wasn't just a defensive midfielder that Mourinho brought in. It was a centre-back playing as a defensive midfielder in Pepe, as Mourinho's plan for extra solidity became clear. With Ozil now on the bench, rather than a 4-2-3-1, it was a dedicated 4-3-3, with no attacking midfielder. In the first leg, Ronaldo had defended high alongside Benzema, ready to spring forward on the counter. Now Ronaldo was forced to be more disciplined, as Real Madrid could line up in a 4-2-3-1, with Khedira often pressing Busquets, or a 4-1-4-1, with Pepe as the dedicated defensive midfielder, and both wingers defending even deeper. In fact, in general, unlike the first leg, Real weren't in a mid-block, but rather a deep and still compact block. Although Khedira was occasionally pressing, Mourinho had anticipated Messi dropping deep to try and create the 4 versus 2. So for the most part, they defended in a flatter midfield 3, meaning it would be Busquets who was the free man, and tasked with trying to penetrate that deep midfield block. Pepe was crucial, as his presence patrolling between the lines made it almost impossible for a man, be it Messi, Xavi or Iniesta, to get enough room between the lines to get their head up and try their intricate passes. In fact, it wasn't until the 53rd minute that Barcelona would get the breakthrough, as Busquets used the space provided to him to get his head up, and Messi had dropped deep. But Pepe's presence meant there was no need for a centre-back to follow him. Still, Villa's elite out-to-in movement found some impossible room, and Albiol, the replacement centre-back, got himself in a twist, and was forced to bring down Villa. Albiol sent off.
Penalty.
Messi dispatched the penalty. The game had turned. Surely no team could stand against this Barcelona side with a man disadvantage. We were like the underdog, midfielder Granero would go on to say about the Mourinho reign. But he made us believe we weren't. He not only told us everything was possible, but he made it possible. The mentality Mourinho was instilling in his players was visible even this early in his reign, as players refused to take defeat.
I have that exact necktie in a box somewhere in my apartment. Anyway, sorry. Just making observations.
They gritted their teeth and altered their tactics. Pepe had to relinquish the midfield role he had excelled in, dropping into centre-back momentarily. But such was his performance in the midfield that Mourinho quickly brought in Arbeloa, pushing Ramos to centre-back so Pepe could move back into the midfield. Benzema was also brought off, with Ozil coming on to best position Ronaldo for the counter-attack. The plan worked. Barcelona couldn't penetrate 10-man Real Madrid. All it took was one error, Alves on Marcelo, leading to a penalty that Ronaldo duly dispatched. One each for Messi and Ronaldo, one each for Barcelona and Real Madrid. Mourinho's influence was growing. The Copa del Rey just 4 days later tipped the scale, from the rivalry in the past few years being competitive to now being downright spiteful. Mourinho had been throwing subtle jibes in press conferences, but Guardiola was not biting. I know Mourinho, he's trying to provoke me into a reaction, but it won't work. I'm not going to react. I'm not going to answer back. Only when I think the time is right. Mourinho had seen the blueprint in the 1-1 league match and doubled down in this encounter. The midfield 3 remained with Pepe at the base, and with Albiol still suspended, Ramos had to move to centre-back. But despite being sacrificed in the last match, Ozil was vital to Mourinho's plans, and was the creative hub, and the injury of Di Maria was just as important. So now Ozil and Di Maria were the wingers, unleashing the German's creativity, as he could still drop deep to defend more centrally, whilst doing the same in the attack to provide a central overload. And with Di Maria on the left flank right from the get-go, he could cover the threat of Dani Alves and Messi. In this match, it was Benzema who was sacrificed, so Ronaldo was perfectly positioned to be freed from any defensive responsibility and utilize his pace on the break. The match was incredibly closely contested, but what was evident is that the 5-0 loss was a blip that would never be allowed again. The game was tetchy and the fouls continued to pile up. and almost every foul and every simulation would lead to a tussle between the two sides, and the two benches threatening to invade the pitch. Mourinho had well and truly installed his fighting spirit into the side, and there was no longer any inferiority complex to the much heralded Pep team. The game was goalless as it looked like Mourinho had figured out the Barcelona attack. But into extra time and Mourinho's master plan came into effect. His defensive midfielders, Alonso and Pepe, won the ball off of Messi, handing it over to the marauding Marcelo. He played a 1-2 with Di Maria, who was playing off of the left-hand side, and on his strong foot, swung in the...
You guys can't see it. It's in this corner. What a good ball that he showed just there. Also, credit to Football Made Simple for avoiding copyright infringement.
Barcelona attack. But into extra time, and Mourinho's master plan came into effect. His defensive midfielders, Alonso and Pepe, won the ball off of Messi, handing it over to the marauding Marcelo. He played a 1-2 with Di Maria, who was playing off of the left-hand side, and on his strong foot, swung in the perfect cross. Ronaldo...
That was a great ball.
Ronaldo rose. Madrid would go on to win the Copa del Rey. It was a massive moment in the Mourinho tenure. It was Real Madrid's first Copa del Rey in 18 years, and their first trophy since the 07-08 La Liga title. In fact, at the end of the season, Los Blancos would show off the trophy in an open bus parade. But the fallout from this match was just beginning. This moment would cause chaos. After the game, Guardiola complained about the offside call, saying it was a 2-centimeter decision from a linesman who must have had very good vision to rule out the goal. Mourinho had long been getting under Pep's skin and saw the opportunity to pounce. He passionately hit back in a press conference.
Entramos en una nueva era, que es la era de un tercer grupo, que es el grupo.
A new era has begun. Until now, there were two groups of coaches. One very, very small group of coaches who did not speak about refs, and then a big group of coaches, of which I am part, who criticize referees when they've made mistakes. People like me who don't control their frustration, but also people who are happy to value a great job from a ref. Now, there's a third group, which is only Guardiola. He criticizes referees when they get decisions right. There is a new meaning to football now. In his first season, Guardiola lived the scandal of Stamford Bridge. Last year, he played against a 10-man Inter. Now he's not happy with the refs getting it right. I'm not asking the ref to help my team. If the referee is good, everybody will be happy. Except Guardiola. He wants them to get it wrong. Pep had been determined to bite his lip, but now he took the bait. Ahead of the first leg of their Champions League encounter, he walked into the press conference room, starting by asking the journalists, which one is Mourinho's camera, setting the tone for an explosive press conference.
Mañana a las 8:45 nos enfrentamos aquí en el campo, fuera del campo, y ha ganado, lo ha ganado durante todo.
I feel like I've seen some of this in a different video, but it's really interesting to focus on the Pep and Mourinho feud. So I feel like I'm learning something here, even though I think I've seen some of this footage.
Mañana a las 8:45 nos enfrentamos aquí en el campo, fuera del campo, y ha ganado. Lo ha ganado durante todo el año, lo ha ganado durante toda esta temporada y en el futuro lo que va a ser. Le regalo su Champions particular fuera del campo, se la lleve a casa. En el otro jugaremos, a veces ganaré.
An off the pitch Champions
League. En esta sala, él es el puto jefe, el puto amo, es el que más sabe del mundo y yo no quiero ni competir ni un instante. Solo recuerdo que hemos estado juntos 4 años.
The battle on the pitch was getting personal, as Guardiola would go on to say on a separate day. I tried to learn from Jose on the pitch, but off the pitch, I prefer to learn as little from him as possible.
It's funny. Wait, Pep is so fiercely loyal to Barca. That clip of him saying he doesn't care if Mexicans watch Man City as long as they support Barca? Huh? What does that... I'm trying to figure out how that makes sense. I want to see that clip, though.
Mourinho doubled down on his winning tactics. Again, Pepe at defensive midfield, providing the steal. But now Lassana Diarra was added to the equation for more solidity. Real Madrid sat off of Barcelona, letting Busquets once again have the ball deep, whilst Real Madrid were once again looking to launch the counters through Ronaldo. But interestingly, Barcelona were now wary of the counter-attack, sitting slightly deeper in the defensive phase to reduce the room that Ronaldo had to attack on the transition. Ronaldo, for his physicality, was not a target man, so Real consistently lost possession, meaning from minute 0 to minute 60, Barcelona had 74% possession. Such was the problem that Mourinho had to bring on Adebayor at halftime for Ozil to let them have an outlet. But tempers were flaring as always. As the teams went down the tunnel, another scuffle erupted, and substitute keeper Manuel Pinto was sent off. But the turning point would be a different sending off. On the 60th minute, the ball broke loose, and Pepe lunged into a reckless tackle. With 10 men, Real Madrid fought on valiantly, as they had when they had found themselves in a similar situation. However, Barcelona now had a stranglehold. From minute 62, Barcelona had 82% of the ball, and Real Madrid did hold strong until the 76th minute, where Messi broke through. The Argentine would then double the lead in the dying embers of the match to put the tie effectively to bed, with a goal that would be etched in the memories of many.
So you're saying a Mexican reporter asked Pep, everyone here cares about Barca and Real Madrid, how can we get them interested in Man City? Okay, now I was trying to figure out why Mexicans should be expected to watch Barcelona.
Mourinho would also be sent off late, contributing to one of the most iconic post-match tirades.
Conseguir la respuesta, que es ¿por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué Ovrebo? ¿Por qué Buzaca? ¿Por qué De Blecker? ¿Por qué Stark? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué Ovrebo hace 3 años? ¿Por qué el Chelsea no podía ir a final? ¿Por qué año pasado con Inter, que ha sido un milagro? ¿Por qué este año?
A €50,000 fine and a 5-match Champions League ban would follow. With no Mourinho, though Madrid would put up a fight, the 2-goal head start for Barca was too much. The 4 Clásicos had ended. 25 yellow cards across the ties, and 5 red cards. And
25 yellow cards in 4 matches?
Barcelona would go on to win the league and Champions League that year. But the season was anything but a failure for Real Madrid. They had their first silverware since 07-08, and the semi-final in the Champions League was the deepest they had gone since 2003. The foundation was there to build on. In the transfer market, Mourinho realized last season's team had been close to greatness, so it was more about tweaks rather than overhauls, with the major incomings being Callejon, Nuri Sahin, Rafael Varane and Contrao, keeping Real Madrid's spend under £50 million. The prior season's results had thrust them together for a Supercopa de España meeting, meaning another 2 El Clásicos. The stress of being put through the psychological grinder in press conferences by Mourinho was beginning to show on Pep. Mourinho had been relentless in the last season when speaking of Barcelona. Deep down, if they're good people, it cannot taste right for them. I hope that one day, Guardiola has the chance of winning a brilliant, clean championship with no scandal.
Jeez.
Mourinho's ability to cultivate a cult-like devotion in his side was also beginning to affect the Spain national team, as the squad was slowly splintering into Barcelona and Real Madrid camps.
Wow.
Even the relationship between players. I remember when we were going to the national team after those games, and it was tough because Mourinho...
This was when the Spanish national team was dominating as well, right? This is 2008 to 2012. Like, Barcelona was dominating and so was Spain. And I think I said in one of my videos, I think I said that Spain was winning because they basically had the Barca lineup, but that's not true. I didn't realize that there would be, that makes sense that there would be tension between the team because you're basically a team built of Barca and Real Madrid players.
Sometimes
he creates that.
Yeah, he goes to the mind of the player, and we were in the dressing room of the national team, and I was going to Iker Casillas, hey Iker, and the guy didn't talk to me. What's happening?
And the bad blood would continue in the two-legged Supercopa. They were two closely contested ties, as again the progress under Mourinho continued to show itself. The first leg ended 2-2 in a game where Real Madrid looked like the dominant force, perfectly teeing up an explosive second leg. And again, that second leg showed the two teams were now almost impossible to separate, with Iniesta opening the scoring before Ronaldo hit back only 5 minutes later. His nemesis would score just before the half, and when it looked like Barcelona would see out the game, Benzema stepped up. Just when the match seemed like it was destined for extra time, Messi produced another moment in the 88th minute to break Madrid hearts. That heartbreak quickly turned into frustration. In the dying embers of the match, with the game gone, Marcelo launched himself into a reckless tackle on Fabregas, meters from the bench. The cards would fly, with Marcelo, Ozil and David Villa being sent off, but perhaps the defining image during the brawl would be Mourinho languidly strolling up to the melee and gouging the eye of Tito Villanova before walking away as if nothing happened. But it had been
What? Mourinho
observed. Mourinho was banned for 2 games, though bizarrely the ban was lifted not long after he apologized. But in this new season, Madrid was soaring in the league more so than ever, courtesy of some tactical tweaks. Mourinho had fully begun Sergio Ramos' transition from right back to centre back, with Arbeloa now frequently covering at right back. The only exception was against higher caliber opposition, where Ramos would play wide to offer extra stability, whilst Lassana Diarra would often replace Ozil in these.
That's how. I'm just trying, like, how nonchalantly he just strolled up to the dude and poked him in the eye. That's like, I respect his ability to get in somebody's head by just talking. Like, that's totally fair game. But, like, just to stroll up to some dude and poke him in the eye? Dang.
These matches as well. Ramos at centre-back gave them extra ball-playing ability in the first phase, with Alonso as the deep playmaker always providing the outlet. This midfield was perfectly balanced, as Khedira was the legs making progress up and down the pitch, whilst Ozil provided the creative spark. This allowed Madrid to dominate possession and create clear chances in their own right. But on the counter, they were a different animal. When defending, Di Maria tended to be deep and tucked in at times, whilst Ronaldo stayed high. So from this shape, with the long passing range of Ramos and Alonso, they still had the option to seek the pace of Ronaldo or the movement of Benzema immediately. They could also give it to Ozil, whose elite ball carrying allowed them to push up the pitch and then release the pass. They ended the season with 15 counter-attack goals, comfortably the most in the league. Their good form meant that after match day 14 they were flying, 3 points ahead of Pep's men with a game in hand. A win would have made it an intimidating lead this early in the season. But in this encounter, Mourinho changed tactics completely, no longer sitting deep and looking to compact the space, and instead pressed more furiously than even Barcelona usually did. Benzema and Di Maria had incredible engines, so they could press all game, whilst Ronaldo upped his work rate for this encounter, with the young German tying up Busquets to prevent the play, and it paid off less than a minute into the game, with Benzema pouncing to have the Bernabeu dreaming of a first league title in years, even this early in the match. But Barcelona would bite back, dropping their midfield even deeper to try and beat the press and maintain possession. It would be a ploy that worked, as Barcelona slowly wrestled control back of the match, and on the half-hour mark, Alexis Sanchez would strike back, with Xavi firing them ahead just after the break. Not long after, Fabregas dealt the killer blow, as Barcelona went on to win the encounter by 3-1 and put themselves firmly back in the title race. But as they had done following the other El Clasico losses, Mourinho's men got their heads up in a major way. They went on an 18-match unbeaten streak in La Liga, of which 15 were wins and 3 draws, determined to once again become the rulers of Spain. The 19th match would see Real Madrid scheduled to visit the Nou Camp, a stadium they had not won at since '07. Even the Madrid players had no faith, After their 2-0 defeat in the Champions League in the season prior, Mourinho said, "I have to hear even in my own dressing room that it's impossible to win here." There were only 5 matches left, and a Barcelona win would have left them breathing down Real Madrid's necks, poised to win a 3rd La Liga title in 3 years. The stage was set. Mourinho stuck to his 4-2-3-1, but now had full faith in his side, not bending for Barcelona, and as a result not opting for extra steel in the midfield in the form of Pepe or Lassana Diarra. Barcelona, on the other hand, had been experimenting with the back three throughout the season. In this match, Mourinho deviated from the aggressive press of the last encounter, and instead they sat deeper in a disciplined block. With the wingers defending narrower than usual, they were successfully clogging up the center of the pitch for large swathes of the match. This meant that the flanks were the outlets for Barcelona. However, Christian Teo was nowhere near as big a threat as David Villa, as this match would show. Whilst Dani Alves was tasked with being the right winger, for as much flair as he had, he would not be the same offensive threat that a real winger is. The shape also had more problems for Barcelona, as when Pedro was wide, when Messi dropped in, Pedro could move to centre forward, while Alves provided the width. But with Alves as a natural fullback, he would hold the width, as he was incapable of attacking the centre forward role, meaning that the Real Madrid centre backs could afford to be much more flexible. And even if Alves had tucked in, it would have left absolutely no width on the right-hand side. Madrid were handling them excellently defensively and making inroads on the counter-attack, but the breakthrough would come in an unconventional manner. From the corner, Valdez spilt the header, and Puyol looked to shield the ball rather than clear it. Sami Khedira pounced. But
Yeah,
Barcelona would ratchet up the pressure.
You just gotta clear that one away. You can't, wow, that's a crazy decision.
And when their equalizer came in the 70th minute from Sanchez, it would be just as messy. Barcelona were perfectly poised to find the winner in front of their home crowd and blow the title race wide open. But two of Mourinho's duels had other ideas. Ozil picked up the ball on the right wing, drawing a man and opening up the smallest of gaps. Ronaldo attacked the space and got onto the end of a perfectly weighted pass. Valdez closed the angle well, but as the new Camp Yals reached fever pitch, Ronaldo had ice in his vein, taking a deft touch to adjust the angle and slot home. As coolly as he dispatched the chance, he ran over to the corner flag. The famous Calma celebration would go on to be sanctioned, but no one in white would have cared. Los Blancos held on to the 2-1 win to leap 7 points ahead of the Blaugrana. It was the defining moment of the title race and the Mourinho era. Madrid would go on to win their last 4 matches, meaning that their last loss was the first Clásico match 22 matches prior. What must also never be forgotten is what an attacking spectacle this Mourinho side was, with the likes of Ronaldo, Ozil.
Which is crazy because we all just talk about Mourinho as such a defensive coach. To have such an attacking identity is crazy.
And Benzema all performing to ridiculous levels, and the side scoring a record 121 goals in the league alone. All of this meant that Mourinho's men became centurions, accumulating a record 100 points in La Liga to once again become kings of Spain. The battles on the pitch and off of it had worn away at his great rival Guardiola, who not only chose to leave Spain, but take a year out of football entirely. Over a decade later, Piqué would confirm suspicions that Mourinho's mental warfare had a lot to do with Pep's decision to leave.
But it's true that Mourinho in the press conference every time, he was every day. In Mourinho, that time Madrid won the league that year, and all of a sudden he decided to leave for so many reasons, but I'm sure that part of it was because with Mourinho it was too much. I mean,
Mourinho's revenge arc was complete, having knocked Barcelona out with Inter, got Madrid back into the winning rhythm before everything culminated in his record-breaking title. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, check out our great...
The story of the rivalry between Pep and Mourinho, legendary story. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and smash like on it. I'll see you guys in the next one. That was crazy. I want to acknowledge chat that came through Hey, Luke, random guy from Myanmar is one of your fans. Appreciate you being here. Really do appreciate that. Bilbo Swaggins. American sports is just entertainment. You literally get rewarded for finishing last. That's fair. It's a fair point. It is. I think I've made that critique a lot on this channel, just how different the culture of sports is for us. But I still have to say, the most painful sporting experience of my entire life happened in an American sports context, and that just happened this last weekend. I'm not even, basketball is not even my number one sport, but it's high. I do love basketball. And that trade, man, it was like a knife to the heart, and I wonder how DeBronco's doing right now. Has DeBronco talked about, any of you who follow DeBronco, has he talked about the Luka trade? Yeah, I don't know if he's talked about it. How do I feel as a Mavs fan? If you catch the first 25 minutes of this stream, you'll get my my first time I've spoken about the Luka trade on the channel, and it was rough. I will say, so you're a Lakers fan. So congratulations. Treat him well. You will find a little bit of frustration with his conditioning, and occasionally he yells at the refs a little too much. Okay, so you're going to get to do that. But you put up with all of that because you're going to see some dazzling magic game winners. Yeah. As a Mavs fan, I do legitimately, or as a Luka fan, I do legitimately think this is probably best for Luka's career, because in the aftermath of the trade, he has gotten dragged through the media about his conditioning, about his health, about his being overweight and not working on that. And then, sorry, give me 1 second. So he's been dragged through the media so much for this. And yet, guys, give me 1 second. I am so sorry. I'm trying to talk and get everything done at the same time. He's been dragged through the media relentlessly. And yet he'll do stuff like this.
Double on Luka, looking for a place to go. Finds Green, who attacked the pass. Hand off back to Luka, late in the shot clock. 4 seconds, got it from Kleba. Again late in the clock. Desperation.
So you get that. You get to see him do that. The Luka thing with me is I think he'll reach his fullest potential as a Laker. I think had he not gotten traded and had he not been dragged through the media and called all kinds of, like, all the stuff he's been said, I know one thing about Luka. He plays to get revenge. He's the revenge kind of player. He does, like, he has legitimate, like, he goes mental when he sees certain players. Like, he holds grudges. Like Rudy Gobert, there is something that Luka has. Like there's certain players that when Luka gets them in his crosshairs, he will go mental on them every time he sees them. I think that this trade and what he's gone through and the criticism he's received from it, I think you could see the best version of him ever. I think you could see his revenge, like getting in shape, like finally getting in shape, like really taking basketball seriously just because he wants to prove everyone wrong that traded him. I think the potential there is that Luka probably wins a few championships with the Lakers. And I think his trajectory with us was probably going to be disappointing for his career. So as a Mavs fan, I think this will get the best out of his career ever. Like, you're going to see the best version of Luka as a Laker, unfortunately, I think. And it's unfortunate for me to be on the side of the bad end of the trade. But as a fan of him as a player, I'd be really happy to see him succeed. First time on a live stream, how can you request a video? There's a Discord link in the description underneath this. If you join up on that Discord, there's a channel in there where people put requests and stuff like that, and I try to catch all of them if I can during the stream. But a lot of times we just don't get through them all for certain. But it's a good place to put them. And then here's one way to. By the way, guys, those of you who have joined that Discord, one thing that will be really helpful. If you see a video in there that you like and you want me to react to as well, go ahead and react to it, put a fire emoji or a thumbs up or something on it, because the more reactions those videos get in the Discord shows me the more interest that we have on it, and I'll be sure to check those out. All right. I've got one in here by Football Iconic about Michael Laudrup. I've definitely got to check him out. That's something that I need to do. And then I have this one about the eye test. I've heard a lot about this. So I do have to know what the Bronco thinks about the Mavs trading Luka. That's crazy. All right, hey guys, what I'm going to do for just 1 second, I'm going to step out because I have got to take a quick bathroom break, and turn the AC on in this house. I'm sweating. We just had a record snow in New Orleans last week, and it is hot today. So I'll be right back. I'm going to put up a little be right back screen, and I'll be back within 5 minutes. All right, see you in a second. All right, we back. All right. Should do the Arsenal match in an hour. Let me check real quick. I actually don't think I can stay that long. Who is Arsenal playing today? Some Arsenal. Am I doing Spurs v Liverpool? I wish I might be able to catch the end of it, but I have class during that time. So let me see. 2 p.m. I might be able to catch the end of the Liverpool and Spurs game, but I will probably be watching part of it during the game. Oh, they're playing Newcastle. Interesting. Not exactly sure. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do this one reaction. This one has been requested several times in the Discord, as well as by commenters on different videos. So we're going to do this one really fast. I'm going to try to get a few more reactions filmed today. I can't stay on too much longer, so This has been, wow, we've almost been streaming 2 hours. Wow. I guess I ranted a lot about basketball in this stream. Let's get into this. All right, in today's video, we are going to be learning the truth about the eye test versus the stats debate. And this video has been highly requested, so we're going to get into it. I am currently live on YouTube right now. We've got a bunch of subscribers been watching along. If you can ever join us, we try to do this once a week or on Tuesday or Wednesday. Today is Wednesday. And we try to do some reactions, get some YouTube content filmed this way on YouTube. So join us live. It's a lot of fun. All right, let's get into this.
Watching football wrong? Well, it depends. Which kind of football fan are you? The type of fan who actually watches games and judges players based on what you see? Or are you the type of fan who mainly judges players, not with your eyes, but with a lot of stats? People are still arguing about this after many years, with pundits and the media all changing their viewpoints coming up.
I do feel like, as an American, I have a disposition towards stats, but I do also, I don't know, there's a balance in this debate.
With all sorts of reasons why one method is better than the other. And while you might think you know the answer, in this video I'm going to tell you exactly which way is the right way, completely changing the way you view football. After spending countless hours going through interviews, data sheets, full matches and more, I determined all of the factors to come up with, once and for all, an actual answer. And finally, you'll be able to know which one is better, the eye test or the stats. First, let's go over where the eye test works better than stats. While numbers don't lie, they can be deceiving. Can stats really be the best way to determine how good a player is? Well, let's put it to the test. Let's take Zinedine Zidane. Regarded as a legend of the game, a Ballon d'Or winner, Champions League and World Cup winner, he spent most of his career playing as an attacking midfielder, yet he never really scored or assisted that much. In fact, he never got over 90 goals in a season over his entire.
Chat, guys, comment what you guys think. Is it the eye test for you or is it stats? Rudy said it's the eye test for him. And I do think I think it's a little bit of both for me. The eye test is undeniable sometimes. Like, you watch a player play and you're like, that's just the best player in the world. But sometimes if their stats aren't matching up with some others, you have to, I don't know. I think I probably lean heavier on eye test than I do stats.
Career and only managed double-digit assists once. During his Real Madrid days, he averaged about 15 league goals and assists per season. Compare that to Jude Bellingham, who was 20 last year. Playing in that same number 10 role, he managed 19 league goals and 6 assists. Does that mean Bellingham is better than Zidane? Well, that's a small sample size for Jude. What about Bruno Fernandes? He has some of the best output we've seen from a midfielder. Since 2017, he's managed about 24 goals and assists per season, a way higher tally than Zidane. Plus, he's done it over multiple years. Does that mean he's better than Zidane? Well, of course not. Zidane contributed more than just goals. Just watch one of his games and you'll see he was an expert at controlling the ball with elite vision and passing. He was an elegant dribbler.
Stats need context, the eye test gives. I think that's a good point.
With a very high football IQ. He also showed up in the big moments, scoring in both a World Cup final and a Champions League final. Those are things that cannot be measured by stats. So is it fair to compare him with other midfielders with those metrics? Some midfielders are just actually have a game suited to scoring more than others. Take Lampard and Iniesta. Lampard was the master at the late run in the box with a deadly shot on him. He's managed double-digit league goals 10 years in a row, including the season with 22 goals and 14 assists. His game was more accustomed to scoring and assisting. His numbers put someone like Iniesta's to shame, but that's because Iniesta's style wasn't about scoring. He routinely dictated the pace of the game with his elite passing and dribbling.
There's context. Exactly. I love that point. There's context. When you actually watch the game, sometimes you notice that a player isn't relied on for a certain stat. And so the stats have to be set within their context of like the game and the team dynamics and the roster that surrounds the player. So like sometimes the stats are a little deceiving based on what a player is being asked to do. So I think that's the stats need context, and the eye test does give you that context.
He could create space from nothing and combine with his teammates with his high IQ for some great link-up play. Creativity like this can't be measured in stats. You knew he was world class by watching him play. Two very different type of midfielders, both world class. Kevin De Bruyne fits the Lampard type with elite output, while Modric fits the Iniesta type with very low output. Well, comparing a role as complicated as midfielders, it's hard to use goals and assists. So what about strikers? Their main job is to score. So surely the better the striker, the more the goals. Well, let's take Drogba and Lukaku. Who do you think has more Premier League goals? Well, the answer is Lukaku. You may be thinking, well, Lukaku has played...
Yeah, that's... To me, that's the end of the debate for me. Honestly, and we got 18 more minutes in this video, but to me, that ends the debate. Because no one in their right mind says Lukaku's better than Drogba. I mean, not for me. I've reacted to both of them.
More games, so the numbers are taken out of context.
But also there's still another context too, because isn't it Drogba who has insane like clutch statistics? Like in clutch moments, there's nobody better, but like he can kind of disappear for a large amount of time. But like when you absolutely need a goal, Drogba's the guy who's going to get you the goal. So it's interesting. It's like, do you weight clutch performance over regular time performance? I think I would tend to weight that heavier, which is why I would think Drogba is a far better player than Lukaku, because I've seen Lukaku in clutch moments and it's not been good. So like when a player performs is also, yeah, but clutchness isn't a stat. Exactly. It's so interesting. It to me, it really is so interesting. Like when a player performs is also important.
Goal ratio is exactly the same. Statistically, Lukaku is on par with Drogba. If I ask you who's better, you'll tell me Drogba. Why? Because once again, stats don't tell the full story. Right. Drogba had much more impact on games. He combined with his teammates better and always showed up when it mattered most. There's also another problem the stats argument faces. Not all stats are equal. Let's dive deeper. There's more than just two stats you can look at. There's dribbles completed, chances created, passes completion, successful tackles. But diving deeper into the stats, it just makes this argument more and more flimsy. People like to say instead of assists, you should use chances created to show a midfielder's creativity. After all, they can't force their striker to score, but the problem is not all chances created are equal. Take a look at these two clips from Ødegaard's masterclass against Chelsea. Ødegaard makes a standard sideways pass to Trossard. He has a shot, and this goes down as a chance created. Yet this clip where he takes out 5 Chelsea players with one move and pass doesn't, because Tomiyasu doesn't shoot the ball, despite this chance only being possible because of Ødegaard. Numbers don't lie, but you will never have the full context of each and every stat on the pitch and the impact it has on the play. People often take these stats out of context to try and argue something that doesn't really exist. Take the big chances missed stat. This stat is often used to highlight the weaker finishers in the striker position. So let's look at the Premier leaders for this stat last season. You have names like Brennan Johnson, Nicholas Jackson, Darwin Núñez. Those guys have been known for being poor finishers. But
Brennan Johnson's been a pretty good finisher this year. I wouldn't say I don't know. I don't know his history, but watching him this year, he's been a pretty good finisher.
Far and away, number 1 on that list is none other than the worst finisher in the league, Erling Haaland. I mean, well, he did miss some sitters last year. His numbers were down quite a lot, so this kind of does make sense. The season before that was when he was the world's best finisher, so surely he can't be there again, except he is. Well, I could take this stat and run the agenda that Haaland is overrated trash whose finishing is terrible. But when you put this stat into context, well, City create a whole load of chances. They're the best team in the league, and Haaland has loads of opportunities to score, which he does. It also gives him loads of opportunities to miss, which he does.
Yeah.
With more context, it makes more sense. Okay, we've spoken about attackers a lot, but what...
Yeah, it's the old... I mean, in American sports, you learn this growing up. Like, when I remember learning that Babe Ruth, you hear about Babe Ruth all the time. I don't even really watch baseball, but growing up, you hear about Babe Ruth. You know, hits the most home runs, but he also has the highest number of strikeouts because, you know, in order to be great, you end up having to, you have to swing, you have to go for it. And so, you know, some of the best shooters in history are gonna, in basketball, are gonna also have the worst percentage, or not worst percentage, they're gonna have a more amount of misses than other people because they take more shots. So that makes sense. It's easy context. You have more goal chances, you're gonna have more misses.
I found about defenders and stats will truly shock you. I'm going to put 2 Premier League centre-back stats on screen over the last 4 seasons. You tell me who you think is better. Player A, although has conceded slightly more, has more blocks, tackles, interceptions, has less errors leading to goals and less penalties conceded, all while doing so in 1,500 less minutes. So who do you think is better? Well, I can reveal that player B is none other than Virgil van Dijk and player A is Harry Maguire. Is your answer still the same? Stats can be used to tell all sorts of stories without actually telling you the truth. Because stats...
My hot take is I don't think Harry Maguire is nearly as bad as people think he is, but it is a fun meme. I love it.
Against Maguire and Van Dijk are always used in Twitter posts and articles to try and prove that Harry Maguire is a world-class defender on par with Van Dijk.
No, not on par.
Isn't the case.
Not on par. He's just not as bad as people say it, but it is fun to clown on him, though.
I conveniently left out a couple of stats, not to mention these stats are skewed because United do more defending than Liverpool, meaning Maguire has more chance to boost his numbers. But if you watch football with your eyes, you'll know who's actually better. Van Dijk makes way more last-man tackles. He's a better 2v1 defender. He's stronger and faster than Maguire. He's better in the air. He scores more, passes better, is a better leader and organizer of the back line. He's more composed. I mean, I can go on all day, but there's no stats to measure the things that Van Dijk does right, and there's no stats to measure the things that Maguire does wrong. It's easy using a few stats to make Maguire look better than he actually is. All sorts of stats can be taken out of context, from using XG to claim that one team dominated the game, to saying a keeper with a higher save percentage is better. It's just not how it works. The eye test can be more reliable when stats can easily deceive you. But can the eye test deceive you? What can stats tell us that the eye test can't? It can tell us way more than what we can see. On FB Ref, you have these detailed scouting reports of every single player, all their per 90 stats and what percentile they're ranked according to position. They cover more than just the standard goals and assists. There's progressive carries, pass completion, through balls, dribbling, possession. They have as many stats as you need. The eye test can never give you something like this, and these stats can be great at identifying player profiles. There is a caveat though. The only thing stats can tell you is a player's role. Enzo is way higher in the passing stats than Declan Rice. Does that mean Enzo is a better midfielder? No, it just highlights who does what role for their team. Stats can never tell you the full picture. You can never determine who's better than who unless you watch the game and see the impact each player has yourself. But numbers don't lie. You either count it or you don't. There is no deliberation, it just is. The eye test isn't so straightforward. Everybody values certain things differently. For example, there's a lot of football fans who think scoring tappings doesn't take much skill, but ask other fans and they'll tell you that to be in the right place at the right time often is incredibly difficult. The eye test is very opinion based and varies a lot depending on who you ask. It's why player ratings fluctuate so much. In the North London derby, Jorginho captained an Arsenal side that won 1-0, but multiple news outlets claimed that he struggled. They gave him a 5 out of 10, and they came up for all their reasons why. Yet other outlets gave him a 7 out of 10, and he even managed to feature on Alan Shearer's Team of the Week. Player ratings will never universally be agreed upon, with some being more harsh than others, with everyone valuing performances differently. In the end, sites like SofaScore and WhoScored, who value their player ratings based on stats, end up being a lot more consistent than an outlet like L'Equipe, who rate based on the eye test. This makes the eye test much harder to trust.
Oh, I get it, because the eye test is a little... It's not objective. There's more subjectivity to eye test because the viewer is going to have different values than another viewer. So like I might value scoring more than say someone else values creative play, and so when or even like say dribbling, like say somebody their eye test views, they weight heavier for goals than they do for dribbling. But somebody views and goes, wow, watch Cristiano Ronaldo dribble, just absolutely leave that person in the dust. What a beautiful dribble. And then other person watching goes, yeah, but it didn't lead to a goal. So their eye test says, no good. So there's subjectivity to weigh in how we weight who is better and rating it and all that stuff. That makes sense because different viewers have different things that they value.
But there is an incredibly good reason as to why the eye test changes so much. The answer was perfectly explained by Thierry Henry.
I get annoyed when people do not recognize the skill of a football player. Because a bicycle kick, they will recognize that, right?
Yeah.
Because not everybody can do a bicycle kick or a volley or something out of this world. But people just think that a diagonal ball, you hit 80 yards away, winger making a run behind the right back in a space.
That's beautiful.
Of the winger. When the quarterback does that with his hand,
Yeah,
it's
well,
highlight reel.
Yeah.
But when the football player jumps, gets the ball, 1 foot in the air, full speed, toe pokes the ball down, go back on one of his legs, guy comes, blocks the guy, puts the ball down.
And no one's like nothing. It's just like...
But sometimes people devalue the skills of a football player because we make it look easy. Everyone think that they can play football. And
I can attest. It's very, very hard. You guys, I still have not released the footage of my first 7-on-7 match that I played. It's so bad. It's so bad. I'm going to have to figure out a way to make it a watchable video. But like when we're playing on a small court and we're able to pass the ball in between each other, I actually started to look okay. And then when we opened the court up and we played in the more full with more space, and Roberto told me to go up top as the forward, and they would try to boom those long balls to me. I can't handle it. Like, I could not figure out how to catch the ball with my foot, how to have that good first touch. My touch was terrible. It was so bad. It was it's so bad. It's so bad. So I can actually say what he is saying here, totally reasonable. If you get out there and you try to play, then when you see that 80-yard bomb and a player like with a great first touch able to control it, bring it down to the ground, get a shot off, then you really, really appreciate the skill involved there. I think you have to play the game a little bit, or at least attempt to play the game a little bit, to really fully appreciate what they're doing.
I always say, not at that level.
Unless you actually understand football, you simply won't know what to look for to spot a good player. If tap-ins were so easy, well, everyone would be scoring them. A midfielder who plays a perfectly weighted pass behind the defender, right into the attacker's feet, doesn't get that time of day unless the striker scores and it counts as an assist. The eye test just simply doesn't always work because people don't know how impressive these things are. People are more drawn to fancy displays of football, while a lot of high-quality footballers can fly under the radar. You may have heard some people call...
Yeah, but I will also say those passes that Kevin De Bruyne just made, doesn't matter to me. Everyone sees that and recognizes whether the stat says it or not. If you watch the game, you saw how skillful that pass was and you value that. So I get what he's trying to say. Sometimes stats just matter, but I just think, I mean, I guess it matters if you're not watching the games. Like for me, since I don't watch a lot of games outside of Tottenham, and some highlight videos that I watch on Patreon sometimes, and I don't watch a whole lot of games outside of it, a lot of times I rely on stats and I rely on that stuff to kind of get a feel for who's performing well in the league. But if I was able to watch the game, I guarantee you there's going to be players that don't show up in the stat sheet very much, that I see them so much on the screen and I'm like, that guy is contributing a lot more. So yeah, I think that I get that he's trying to counter argue to try to give both sides here, but I think you still have to lean more heavily on the eye test than the stats.
Thomas Muller underrated. In fact, it's not overrated to call him underrated, but some people just don't understand how accurate this statement is. His own teammate gives a pretty good explanation.
Some kids, when they see like Neymar dribbling, they think that's what it takes to be a professional. Like Thomas, before I came to Bayern, like just watching like as a fan, I'm like, bro, how's this guy's a professional? He's not fast, he doesn't do skill, you know? Like you see all these skill shows and you see people doing all these fancy tricks and kids think like, okay, you need to be like this good to be a professional. It's all about the little details. Touch, play. If your ability to play two touch and your first touch is so clean, I swear, nobody can touch you on the pitch.
Thomas Muller doesn't have the flashiest playstyle, and so he can go very much under the radar. If you don't understand how difficult having a clean first touch or reading an opposition defense is, then you'll have no clue why Thomas Muller is considered one of the best at what he does.
That's a fair
because
point.
Even if we check the stats, these are the numbers of a world-class talent. 320 league goals and assists in 475 games, 12 league titles, 2 Champions Leagues, and a World Cup. He should be hailed as one of the best to ever do it, but football fans rarely talk about him because he doesn't do a load of stepovers or score long shots. Another player that fits this well is
Okay. I agree and I disagree. I do agree that he doesn't do a lot of the fancy stuff, so he gets looked over a little bit. But I don't really think that's true. I feel like most people who actually watch football a lot, they always bring up Thomas Muller as one of the all-time greats. Like, I don't think he actually gets underrated that much. You guys might know better than me. I feel like whenever I got into football and started watching it, I feel like he comes up often as like, yeah, this guy he's an all-time great. And so I think that even still, when you watch him play, you recognize his greatness, even though he doesn't do the flair. So I think like this guy's point, I think he's right in a sense that I think the thing that he's gotten to, okay, I'm rambling a little bit. I think I have got a point here. I think the thing that he's uncovered in this video is that there is a difficulty in the eye test because there's some subjectivity in the eye test. I think probably for kids who are more casual fans, things like Neymar, Ronaldinho, some of those sort of flashy stepovers and different dribble moves that they do, that's probably what they see as the eye test of a great. But when you talk to football fans, seasoned football fans who watch the game, who have maybe played the game at some level, their eye test sees something completely different. Their eye test actually sees a guy like this and goes, yeah, he just stands out immediately. They watch a Kevin De Bruyne and they're like, he stands out immediately, even though maybe his stat sheet doesn't line up with an all-time great. So I think like the thing that he's uncovered with this video is that for casual fans, Thomas Muller would not show up as an all-time great. For actual fans, the eye test is, we don't need the stats. The eye test shows that he's great. That's kind of my thing. I think the eye test still is more reliable.
Griezmann. This is a guy who is criminally underrated. He's Atletico Madrid's all-time top goal scorer. He's been in the Ballon d'Or top 3 twice, World Cup winner with a silver boot and a bronze ball, and was one of, if not the most important French player at the 22 World Cup. He's been one of the most consistent footballers over the last decade, yet Griezmann just isn't spoken about often. Thierry Henry even called him the most underrated player in existence. His first touch, IQ, creativity, they're all world class. Sometimes stats can paint a better picture than what the eye test can when we don't quite understand the impact a certain player has. It's why CDM, for me, is the most underrated position in football. Someone like Sergio Busquets never did anything fancy. He was slow, unathletic, and when you play with Messi, Xavi, Suarez, Neymar, you're not going to stand out much in terms of highlights. But Vicente Del Bosque put it perfectly. You watch the game, you don't see Busquets. You watch Busquets, you see the whole game. This doesn't just go for underrated players, it goes for overrated players too. Players with fancy highlight reels tend to be rated a lot higher than they actually are. Someone like Neymar comes to mind, but he was genuinely a world-class talent who actually had good output. Pogba is a more accurate example. This guy was a walking highlight. He could score some insane long shots. He had passes that I've never seen anyone even attempt, let alone place perfectly. Watch a Pogba highlight tape, and I promise you'll be in awe. It's easy to rate Pogba a lot higher than he actually is. I'm guilty of doing so myself. But in reality, Pogba had a lot of matches where he'd go missing. Games where he struggled to influence the play, dictate the tempo, and make silly defensive mistakes that cost his team. Outside of his crazy highlights, he was often branded a liability. But you see, that right there is the biggest problem of them all. Highlights. The reason why the eye test will never work and people rely on stats is because people aren't even watching the games in the first place. Most people's analysis on football doesn't come from what they see. It comes
This is the best point he's made in the video. This is actually, I agree with him here. And I think maybe the reason I've been kind of disagreeing with him is because we're arguing two different points. The eye test for someone who watches the game is going to be different from the eye test of somebody who just watches highlights, who consumes the game through reels or shorts, YouTube shorts, or yeah, that's going to be that. I think that's true. I think the eye test, it's just like I said, it's for the difference between casuals and actual fans. And I'm not trying to say that I'm an actual fan, but I think I am. But I'm like somehow more legitimate of a fan as other people. But I do think that it depends on who you're talking about. Whose eyes are we talking about? Are we talking about a seasoned fan, or are we talking about a casual? I think that's my takeaway so far.
From what they hear through pundits or Twitter or sports articles, people are judging players they've never watched outside of 3-minute highlights on YouTube. Now that could be because football is very expensive to watch. It's also impossible to watch every game of football. Most people struggle to even watch every match from their own team. So how do people then judge players? Well, they use stats. They get the results on their phone, they see who scored or assisted, and from there they decide who had a bad game or not. We know that's not how it works, but for some people it is. I've seen the goals and assist debate more times than I'd like to count on Twitter, despite there being more to football than these two stats. Alternatively, people end up using highlights and comps to decide if someone is good. I'll never forget when Mudryk was linked to Arsenal. I searched YouTube and watched all of his Welcome to Arsenal comps. This guy looked class, dribbling, passing, shooting. He could do it all. I thought, wow, this guy is going to be a great signing for Arsenal. When Chelsea hijacked the deal, I honestly thought it was the steal of the century. Well, since he's joined Chelsea, he's done absolutely nothing. These comps fooled all of us, and there's been countless other cases of this too. Highlight tapes are not a sensible way to judge footballers because comps can make anyone look amazing. In this new age of watching football through TikToks and Instagram reels, seeing players do meaningless flicks and tricks, people have started to misunderstand what actually being a good footballer is. If you've ever scored a 30-yard screamer, then according to Instagram reels, you're the world's greatest player. This is not how football works. Number of assists doesn't equal good game. So is this going to be the future of football, where we no longer watch games, we just check out the stats? Well, that's already how football works at a lot of big clubs. Teams now have whole data analyst departments filled with people who don't watch the games, they just analyze the stats. If you've seen the film Moneyball, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Football teams now make signings based on what the data shows them in their player profile. It's how Liverpool signed Mo Salah. Klopp was eager to sign Julian Brandt, but Michael Edwards was adamant that the data showed Salah was a better fit for the system, and well, the rest is history. It's not just how clubs decide who's good either. Neville went on TV and said he decided his Man of the Match awards based on stats. It just goes to show you that it's not just armchair Twitter fans who use arbitrary stats to decide who's better. There's a few very important people who have a word to say about this stats revolution. Jose Mourinho put it plainly. Arsene Wenger said stats can cheat you. These are two elite coaches telling you that stats simply aren't everything. Even players themselves don't like being judged by stats. Benzema said we no longer bother to look at what a guy does on the pitch, only if he scored. Hazard took it one step further with his assessment on the numbers game. You have players, they score 3 goals by scoring tap-ins 3 times, and afterwards we say, wow, they don't excite me at all. Today, the only thing that matters is having goals and assists. Are we going to start seeing this more and more, where the only thing that matters is the numbers of chances created and successful dribbles, or does the eye test still prevail? The truth is, stats and advanced stats are a much more superior way of analyzing football. They simply just tell us more about football. They give a non-biased, accurate representation of every single footballer. It's impossible to watch every single player and determine who's good and who's not, and it's hard to trust other people's eye test. So stats do prevail. However, you have to look at stats in context. Some midfielders' roles aren't about creating chances or assisting, the same way some strikers offer more than scoring. Unfortunately, people take these stats out of context and love to give it their own meaning to fuel their personal agendas. So stats in context is superior than an untrustworthy eye test. But the thing is, you can never ever know how good someone truly is unless you watch them. You can throw all the stats out there to try and convince someone that Messi is the GOAT, but show them Messi actually playing and it will be a completely different feeling. People who are so against numbers being used in football are lagging behind, while people who only care about stats are missing out on the true beauty of the game. Watching footballers do things that stats can never show you is the whole point of watching the sport. A wise man once said, not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed that video,
Alright.
check out our last.
Fantastic ending. Okay, I agree with his conclusion. I was a little concerned because he leaned heavily on the stats side of the argument there at the end, and I was thinking, I'm not sure I completely agree. However, wrapping that up with the very fact is you just got to watch you've got to watch the games. You can't just make arguments based on stats alone. I think that's right. Like you must watch. You just got to watch the players play if you're gonna understand where they rank, and I think that's true. I think yeah, I agree with his ultimate assessment. And now I'm just rambling on. Go ahead and smash like on this video if you liked it. Tell me what you think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys in another video. Yeah, I started to ramble a little bit at the end there, but I think this was a great video. There for a little while because it seemed like he was hanging pretty heavy on stats. I was like, I'm not sure I agree. I think eye test still is more reliable, but eye test is reliable to give context to stats that matter. Interesting. You got to watch the game, otherwise you can't tell who's good and who's not, for sure. Yeah, I think you could make the Messi argument just off of his stats alone, and you would be able to believe it. But when you watch him play, you feel it. You feel his greatness when you watch him play. Very, very interesting video. So we're going to got several videos put in the Discord already. Let's see, how many have we done today? We've done several long reactions today. This has been good stuff. Guys, what's happening in football currently that I need to be on the lookout for, just around like around the world of football, and maybe something. Is there anything trending right now that I could that I can react to for YouTube? Let's see. I'm gonna do. We're going to look up. Oh, come on now. I have to look up. I have to write the word soccer there, because if not, I would get different. I would get Super Bowl. I would get Super Bowl content, basically. Neymar back to Santos. Oh, here's some news. What Ronaldo said today. On the eve of his 40th birthday, so that was yesterday, Ronaldo says he's the best soccer player ever. All right. The debate is never over when Ronaldo speaks about it. Cristiano Ronaldo approaches his 40th birthday with the same confidence he's always boasted throughout his successful career. Ronaldo, he says, I am the greatest scorer in history. That's different than saying he's the greatest player in history. Because I'm still not sure I agree with him on this, but that's a more modest answer here. He definitely has the most goals scored. And the greatest scorer in history, Ronaldo said in an interview with Spanish television channel. Although I'm not left-footed, I am in the top 10 in history for goals scored with the left foot. These are numbers. I am the most complete player who has ever existed. All right. I play well with my head. I take good free kicks. I am fast. I am strong. I jump. I've never seen anyone better than me. Gotta love it. You gotta love it. Ronaldo is not backing down from this. Hey guys, by the way, I don't know if any of you have seen my Ronaldo video that I made, the story of Ronaldo. Super. I would go check it out. I really, really found myself appreciating Ronaldo a lot more after making that video. But The Portugal star holds the most scoring records in men's international soccer, including most appearances with 217 and most goals with 135. He said it before more than once that he feels he will go out as the best ever in the history of the game. Whenever he was asked about the decision of who is better, him or Messi, he always praised the Argentine, but ended up siding with himself. It's just who he is. Ronaldo's most recent comments prompted a few reactions. I have a lot of respect for Cristiano, and I don't have to analyze his opinions. It's what he thinks. I have my own thoughts, and it isn't that. A former teammate of Messi and his current coach. Okay. That's funny. I think if he's making the case that he's the greatest scorer of all time, I'm more likely to believe, not to believe, but like to give him a pass on that. But if you're asking if he's the most complete player who's ever existed, which is what he said he was, no, I don't think that that's the case. But happy birthday, Ronaldo. I do wish you the best, and I hope everyone here goes and checks out my Ronaldo video that I made, the story of his life and what drives him and motivates him. I think it's a fantastic watch. All right. So there's that topic. Let's see what else we got trending. See. You guys said Neymar. Wait. No. I gotta check out. Was it Man City versus Liverpool? All right. I can't react. Man, I can't do this on YouTube. I want to react to the highlights from it. But no, was it Arsenal? It was Arsenal versus Man City. Sorry. Yeah, Arsenal. I want to react to it, but I can't react to the highlights on YouTube. I'll get definitely blocked for doing that. If I was streaming on Twitch, I could do it. But Arsenal humiliated Man City. Crazy stuff. So you're loving Man City's downfall? Gotcha. Yeah, it has been kind of crazy to see them go down so much. I don't love that it's happening to Arsenal, but wow, Arsenal they're only 6 points back from Liverpool. I still think Liverpool are probably going to just ride this wave and win the league this year. I don't really see, but Arsenal do have a chance. What in the world is going on with Nottingham Forest? I never saw this coming. For Nottingham Forest to currently be sitting here with 47 points on the table. Like, what in the world, man? They were bad, legitimately. Wait, why are you saying why is my table like this? What's wrong with my table? What's wrong with the table? Oh, wins, losses, and draws. What is it like for you guys? That's interesting. I just never would have seen this coming at all. For Nottingham Forest to be so good. Let's try to see. Oh, that's a reaction we ought to do. Okay. So keep this page where it's at. Y'all have wins, draws, and losses. Oh, okay. Losses and draws. Tottenham are at 14th now. But this is what I was saying. Like, under the 10th, you don't have a positive You don't have a positive goal differential. Brighton, -3 in their goal differential at 10. 0, -2, -6. Tottenham, +11. -17, -5, -18, -28, -27, -36. Nobody who's in the bottom half of the table has a positive goal differential. And here we are with 11. Crazy stuff. All right. I have a reaction that we have got to do. Absolutely have to do. And that is a reaction to myself. All right. So let's go to my channel. Let's see. No, where's the... Y'all give me 1 second. We're going to get... Okay. So, record this. All right, so I made some crazy predictions going into this season. All right, and it has not turned out anything like that. Well, I'm gonna find my my predictions from the beginning of the year. It would have been months ago. Here we go. What's up, guys? Today we're going to be looking at some Premier League predictions. I'm gonna also give some of my thoughts, some of my predictions, worthless as they may be. They're worth about 1 gold doubloon. You might notice I'm dressed a little differently today. It's not because I want to look like a professional sports pundit. It is because today is the first day of class. Oh yeah, that's when I started my semester. All right, let's see. Sport. So if you're clicking on this video because you wanted to hear good sports opinions, you might get a few good opinions, but that's sports pundits over on. All right, so this is, I was looking at these Premier League pundits to hear what their opinions were. The Premier League website, Adrian Clark, Adrian Kajumba, Alex Kebble, and Ben Bloom. I don't know these pundits, but these are the ones that we're going to learn from today. I'm going to read these their opinions here and give kind of who I think is correct, who I think is more correct, what are opinions that I kind of agree with or I can kind of see as true. So here we go. Adrian Clark, Manchester City will be favorites to win their 5th consecutive title, but I do feel it could be Arsenal's time to be champions. This is what I fear. This is what I fear, and I said it on my live stream on Twitch on Saturday. I do believe Arsenal might do it this year, and that sucks to say. As a Spurs, they still could. This actually is not a bad take at this point. They're still in the running for it, but I do not want to see that happen. But I just don't see Manchester City winning their 5th straight title. I don't see it happening, and I see Arsenal. That's definitely my best opinion of my best prediction of the year. I didn't see Manchester City winning a 5th title, and boy, that has paid off. Arsenal had some good signings. I won't lie. I wanted Calafiori. I wanted that signing for Spurs, and we did not get it. So Spurs made some interesting moves, though. I'm happy with the move. Manchester City will be. What a rough one here. Favorites to win their 5th consecutive title. He thinks Arsenal will do it. This team has improved under Mikel Arteta season after season. If that happens again, the Gunners will reach 90+ points with a few additions and fire in their belly. I fancy Arsenal end their wait for the title. Arsenal, man, they could do it. Adrian Kajumba, again, sorry if I am mispronouncing this name. Surely Man City cannot do it again. There has to see, that's kind of the running theme here. Most of us who are saying this, it's just like Man City can't do it 5 times, can they? Like, it can't have another season of Man City winning. They probably could, but I think most of us are not super. Somebody said next year Tottenham and Wrexham might play in the same league. I don't think Tottenham are getting relegated. I don't know. I don't think so. I guess we're not high on Manchester City winning it this year. So he thinks Arsenal are the coming force after 2 title race test runs in 2022 and 20. I'm gonna skip ahead to my wild prediction because this is the craziest thing I did. Good, very good. Ben Bloom, if this is to be Guardiola's final campaign in charge, there will be even greater incentive for a true Premier League great to bow out on a high. It's not an interesting prediction, and a couple of clubs are capable of running them close, but as ever, it will be a surprise if Man City don't win. Wow, okay, so that's a point that I wasn't expecting. He thinks that because it's Guardiola's last campaign with Manchester City, he's going to be motivated as Ben Bloom. Very, very wrong, my friend. Motivated as ever, and Alex Kebbel thinks that Guardiola won't be motivated because of the uncertainty of his future. And boy, there has been some other stuff surrounding off the pitch for Guardiola that has also been rough. And that's going to actually cause their performances to wane. But Ben Bloom is saying, no. Okay, so I think I have to... Man, I don't want to agree Arsenal wins the league. I don't think they're going to win the league. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb. You heard it here first, folks. Well, you haven't heard it yet, but I'm about to go out on a limb. I'm about to make a wild prediction. I am about to make a wild prediction. And, I mean, that's what you click... This physically hurts. Some of you remember what this prediction was. On these videos for, right? You click on these videos for hot takes. I am going to do something that's going to make my friend Roberto very happy. I'm going to predict Manchester United win the Premier League this year. I've got Manchester United. United at number 1. Manchester, I'm writing it down right now. Manchester United, Luke Sports Academy predicts Manchester United win the league. I know the comments. Oh, I already see it. The comments are, you guys are fuming. Stop typing right now. I see you typing right now. You're upset with me for choosing Manchester United winning. And it's probably like, it's a stretch. I think they have a good team. I think they made some. It's beyond a stretch. It's the craziest stretch. Interesting signing. I think they could do it, and I know it's a stretch. It's a stretch. Obviously, Arsenal is the best team to choose to win the league. Arsenal, Manchester City are the obvious choices, obviously. But you didn't click on this because I'm a professional sports pundit. I'm a YouTube entertainer. I think Manchester United. That's my prediction. Manchester United win the league. All right, back here. Let's look at their. Yeah, I think. Did I get my top 4? Sleeping on Chelsea this year. I don't. Arsenal, Manchester City, Liverpool, and Spurs. I see the title race being more of a 2-horse race. No, I don't remember who I predicted for them, but I think I put Tottenham at 4. Man City, Manchester United, Spurs, Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Villa, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool. I'm going to give my top 4 prediction right now. Manchester United 1, Arsenal 2, Manchester City 3, and Tottenham 4. Actually, I'm sorry guys. I'm a Spurs fan. I'm moving Tottenham to 5. I think Tottenham finished 5th. I'll put Liverpool at 4. I'm being objective here, okay? I'm being objective here. I think I did that just so I wouldn't appear crazy. I think I really believed Tottenham would finish 4th. I think that my first choice, I really thought they would finish 4th. So having them down currently at 14 right now, crazy. This season hasn't panned out at all like I expected. I definitely didn't expect Nottingham Forest to be 3rd on the table or Liverpool to be as good as they have been. So interesting. Yeah, it's funny. It's a little difficult to make a prediction for a season following a season because you're kind of a prisoner of the moment a little bit. Like, okay, last season it just seemed so good. You know, Tottenham were fighting for that 5th spot for 5th and 4th, and I really wanted to get the 4th spot, but so I thought, okay, they'll be back in that same battle again. Turns out we're battling to stay in the Premier League. So things change, and so you can never actually predict what's going to happen. And so anyway, those are some crazy predictions I made this year. That's fun. All right. So let's see. I got a list of reactions to do in the Discord. You guys go ahead and load it up over there. Join in if you want to join the public Discord. I'm going to be my prediction about Strickland versus. I don't really watch the UFC, so I wouldn't be able to. We need to look at the Champions League table. I'll go ahead and look at the Champions League table real quick, and then I'm going to call this a stream. It's some homework to do, and my voice is running out. All right, let's look up UCL table. What in the world? All right, the Champions League table. Let's go to the UEFA website. Dude, Villa. What a showing from Aston Villa. And I couldn't be happier for Dan. Dan's one of my channel members who's in the members only Discord, and man, he couldn't happen to a better guy. They've had a great run. So the league table phase. And then Man City barely made it. They barely made it through. So knockout phase playoff places unseeded. And these are the seeds. Okay. PSG, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid. Wow, there are some really big time teams in the knockout playoffs. Wow. So Real Madrid, Bayern Munich both have to get through the playoffs to make it into the round of 16. Atalanta, I feel like that makes sense for them to be near Dortmund in there. PSG and Manchester City all in the playoff phase. Wow. Wow, Liverpool are just too good this year, man. We have to play Liverpool tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe it's just the little bit of hope. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you. There was just a glimmer of hope that begins with me with, like, okay, so we play Liverpool in Europa on Thursday in the Europa League. I have just this tiny beacon of hope that we're going to beat Liverpool. Is that Europa or is it the Carabao Cup? I might be thinking of the wrong cup. We play... No, never mind. I do have a little bit of hope that we'll beat them, though. Yeah, it's the Carabao Cup in the semifinals. I don't know. We'll see. I'll probably get crushed. Yeah. That's a little less exciting than I thought it was. But I do think that there's still the chance... There's still the chance that Tottenham can get relegated and win a trophy, which would be interesting. Anyway. Check the knockout bracket. How do I check the knockout bracket? Do they have a way to check the bracket? Okay, knockout phase playoffs, first leg. Okay, so Man City versus Real Madrid. Sporting versus Dortmund. Why are these games all at 2:00? This is literally in the middle of my class. And it's an important class for my senior thesis. So on Wednesday, February 12th, I might be able to stream. I probably will stream Bayern and Celtic. But Real Madrid and Man City is going to get clobbered. Okay, here we go. So is it really great production here. All right, PSG I think will win this one. I haven't really watched Brest play this year, so I don't know much about them. I think Real Madrid are going to destroy Man City. That's the only one I feel confident about. I feel really confident that Man City will get beaten. They have their center backs injured, though. That's interesting. I think the upset here. It's hard to predict an upset. Maybe PSG get beaten. Real Madrid has all their center backs injured, so it won't be easy. Maybe. But Tottenham beat Man City pretty easy in our worst form. Actually, no, we weren't at our worst form at that moment. All right. The Brest jokes. I got it. That's fun. I'd be surprised if Bayern and AC Milan don't go forward. I'm going to be surprised if Real Madrid lose to Man City. Even if you're saying it's going to be a little tough, I'm still going to be surprised if Real Madrid don't beat them. I expect PSG to beat Brest. I expect Dortmund to beat Sporting. PSV and Juventus is interesting. But I still expect Juventus to win. Hope Brest would get exposed. That's funny. All right. I'm going to wrap this one up. My voice is starting to get raspy, and I've been talking for 3 hours. So, over 2 legs, City are in the bench. Yeah, I agree. All right, well, this was a fun stream. Like I said, I'm going to try to be doing these. I think instead of Tuesdays, I think I'm going to do these streams on Wednesdays. I have less classwork at school on Wednesdays. So we'll get to the Europa League later. I'm maxed out on my talking for the day. All right, guys, this was a lot of fun. How's the championship table looking? Oh, you talking about the championship? I thought you were talking about the Champions League. We'll get into it later. All right, guys. I'm going to see you on the next stream. I have